across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello and a good evening to you. It is Petrie here with you through now until 1 o'clock, and of course at midnight it is the phone in, and this is your opportunity to talk, to give your view, to give your opinion, and to tell me your stories. And what I want to talk about at midnight are these numbers, these jobless benefits claimants, up by 1 million since Labour came to power. Now, I've been digging through all of the numbers, so if you want to know anything, yeah, I can tell you, I think, hopefully, about who's on benefits. And I mean, we've got to remember as well that there's been a switch over from other benefits onto universal credit. So some of these numbers, as far as I can make out, not being a mathematician, are to do with that as well. But nonetheless, there has been a massive rise in the number of people claiming benefits, and there's been a huge number of people now. What is rising the most is those people on benefits who have no need to ever look for work again, by the look of it. I mean, that's it. 3.7 million are now just on benefits for as long as they want to be. So I want to talk to you about this. I mean, is universal credit really easy to get? So I want to hear from you. I want to hear your stories. I want to hear what it's like to get universal credit, because for those of us who are not on it or haven't been on it, it might be that we think, oh, it's just so easy. You just walk in and go, give me some money, and they do, and then you're on benefits for the rest of your life. So I want to hear from you, because I'm trying to figure out what is going on with benefits. Are they just too easy to get? Are they just too easy to stay on? Is it fear of getting another job? I mean, I think the cliff edge, I thought Labour were going to try and sort out. By that, I mean that if you're on benefits and you find a job, that to suddenly stop your benefits terrifies a lot of you. And then the idea that if you don't get on with that job, you're going to have to reapply all over again to get those benefits, puts people off trying to find work in the first place. So I just need you really to help me out on this, because I don't quite get it. I mean, the way I look at it, it looks like universal credit is just really easy to get, and you can just, you know, lie and say, well, I can't look for another job, I can't work again. So I'd really like to hear from you on this, because this is outside of my experience, and so I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know stuff about that side of it if I don't. So give me a call. I'd love to hear from you on this. 0344 499 1000, and you can also send a WhatsApp to that same number, and you can send a text if you like to 87222. If you put the word talk up front, it comes through to me here in the studio. So I look forward to chatting with you at midnight. Before that, Kevin Schofield has made it back from the United States of America. I was a bit doubtful that he would, given that he's a journalist and has written some pretty anti-Trump stuff, but he managed to get through, and he is back. So we'll be chatting with him about the papers for tomorrow at 11 o'clock. And before that, Johnny Hearn is here, our filmmaker. He's going to be talking us through some of the movies that he's seen this week, and one is a solid recommendation and one is a solid So stick with us to find out which is which. And our fabulous Mal Fletcher, futurologist and social commentator, will also be with us to chat with us about AI and AI use in the justice system, which worries me quite a lot. But before that, US President Donald Trump declared a public safety emergency in Washington, D.C. He deployed hundreds of National Guard troops to the area to fight out-of-control crime and homelessness, having made being homeless illegal somebody who's homeless, who doesn't have a home to go to, can now be arrested, fined and charged. However, Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser has said the city has seen a huge decrease in crime with a 30-year violent crime low. Even the FBI admit there has been a significant drop in crime in the area, although they do their numbers slightly differently. The Metropolitan Police Department of the District of Columbia showed a 35% crime fall across all crimes, while FBI data says about a 9% drop. So why is Donald Trump using this excuse to federalize Washington, D.C., to declare a state of emergency, to put soldiers on the ground, to put FBI on the ground, whose job is entirely different to that of the police? Anyway, and what are they going to do with the homeless that he is insisting have to move out immediately? Well, joining me now to discuss this is Steve Siebold, author and speaker on psychological performance training. Steve, as ever, it's wonderful to see you. Thank you for joining me. Now, we saw him test this out a little bit for Gavin Newsom, didn't we, down in California, to try and force his hand there. But this time, Donald Trump acts as the governor of Washington, D.C., because it's not a state.
Yeah, exactly. Good to see you, Petrie. Thanks for having me on again. It's always good to be on. I wish it was under better circumstances.
Me too.
Conversations, but it is what it is. Yeah, this is Trump again, showing he's king of the world, and I really think it's not about crime. I was in D.C. not long ago for a week. It's walking the streets at night. During the day, it's a very safe place, actually. This is about, in my opinion, getting rid of the homeless people. You know, Trump wants to put he's going to put these people in jail. They have nowhere to go. They're literally homeless. Where are they going to go? But he wants them out, or he's going to put them in jail. And I think it's just another way for him to show he is king of all things, all territory.
But these people, their only crime is that they have nowhere to live, right? There's no other suggestion that these are criminals.
No, these are just poor homeless people. I mean, a lot of people on the streets of the United States are living on the streets and are homeless, are mentally ill. And of course, we don't take care of the mentally ill people here. We just push them to another encampment so they can live under a bridge. And it's shameful. That's what he should be talking about. Instead of spending $200 million on a new ballroom for the White House, we clearly don't need. We could be spending the $200 million on helping mentally ill people on the streets. But instead, he wants to put them in jail so it doesn't look so bad in his backyard, which is mostly what he's concerned with.
So he wants an entirely sanitized, Disneyfied Washington, D.C., basically.
Yeah, Trump has lived his whole life like this. And this is a man who was born with effectively $400 million in today's dollars in his pocket when he was born. This is a silver spoon. He's never known, he doesn't even know what it's like to go to a grocery store. If you ever heard him say the word grocery, he says, yeah. Groceries, it's everything you put in a bag. I mean, like he just discovered the word. This is a guy who lives in a different reality, and the homeless people are dirty to him, and they're nasty, and he wants to get rid of them. I mean, it's so obvious what he's doing here. It's shameful.
The other thing is that he is using very obscure laws in order to affect all of these things that he's trying to do, like the Alien Enemies Act, which judges are looking at and going, well, this isn't an emergency. This is not what that act was supposed to be for. This one he's using now, declaring a state of emergency. That just presumably plays well to his MAGA base.
Oh, yeah. Well, clearly, Petrie, we are under attack by these poor homeless people, just as we're under attack by people working at our Home Depot or our home centers that are selling tacos in the parking lot, and their ICE agents are tackling them and ripping them away from their children and their families. Clearly, these are dangerous people selling tacos and living on the street. So we have to enact these old laws to make sure we save the public from them.
This what he's doing now with Washington D.C. He's also threatened to do the same to other areas, specifically New York City. He's got a real bug in his backside at the moment about New York City, and also he's talking about Chicago. I mean, presumably he doesn't have the ability to do that in the same way as he does in Washington D.C.
Well, I think he thinks he does, Petrie, and these are places that did not vote for him. These are Democratic strongholds that did not vote for him. Trump is all about revenge. I mean, he's told me this personally, and he's told everyone that's ever met him, I think, personally, for 30 years or probably longer, that revenge is the key to success. That's the first piece of success advice. Literally, he told me, he said, this is the best piece of success advice I'll give you. When I was 30-something years old, he said, get revenge on your enemies. And he's doing that, and he's doing it through these laws, as you say, and he's pulling it off. And our weak Congress just can't seem to stop him.
I mean, that is the thing, isn't it? A lot of people are saying, what are the Democrats doing? And it looks to me like the Democrats are trying to colour within the lines, and the Republicans are so outside the lines, and it doesn't seem like an even match, right? I mean, one lot of people are trying to do it all properly, and the other lot of people appear to be bending every or breaking every single rule that they can get their mitts on.
Yeah, we have very few Democrats they're terrible politicians, notoriously. And they're good people for the most part. The ones I've met over the years and seen and studied over the years, they're very good people. Most of them, of course. There are some bad ones, of course. But they're terrible politicians. And I think some of them are trying to stand up. They clearly don't know what to do because we have literally handed the keys to this criminal. And that's why we all fought so hard to keep him out of office, because we knew if we handed him the keys that his corruption would be double or triple or quadruple what it was in his first term, which of course we've seen. I don't know what it is in terms of being worse, but it's a lot worse, clearly, and there's very little we can do.
But I mean, it just exposes the entire American system as having been based on faith. I don't mean religion, I mean faith that somebody would behave properly. It has exposed the entire democratic system as being incredibly flimsy. America, whatever happens, won't go back to that, will it? It can't.
Now, the Constitution really does not protect us, as we're finding out. We hadn't found this out in the past 249 years, but we found out now. It really doesn't protect us from a president with all power, or mostly all power, that does not have the goodwill of the people. Good intentions. It really doesn't protect us from a corrupt president. So you're completely right. It showed the flaws of the Constitution. As solid as a document as it is for being written 249 years ago, it has showed its flaws for sure, and we're paying the price as a result.
Because that is a conversation that I have with a lot of my friends who don't quite understand what's going on in the United States. Can't they just get rid of him? Can't they just because we have systems in place here where if it's absolutely dire, then it can happen. But what is Trump's end game? What is all of this preparing the US for? The sight of the military in major cities, the FBI and the police really pretty much being federalized and under control of Donald Trump. This is ringing alarm bells. What is he preparing the US for?
Well, I think there's two things going on. One is he's using his ego to get revenge, and this is kind of what he does in business. He sues everybody. The guy's had 5,000 lawsuits he's filed during his lifetime. I mean, I don't know any company that's ever done that. So I think his part, Petrie, is revenge. But on the other side, there's a whole bunch of people behind them that are using him. They know he's a useful idiot. They know he'll say anything. He'll incriminate himself. He's got the intellect of a 12-year-old, and he can't control himself more than even for his lack of intellect. But the real end game, in my opinion, and there's a lot of people that think this in Washington and outside of Washington, is they want to take the United States to Christian nationalism. They want to rule the country by the laws or what's in the Bible, by creating laws based on the Bible. Not that they're religious in any way, but they know they can control an ignorant populace that'll believe anything that was written in an ancient book of symbolic literature.
I I mean, I've heard some of the language that's being used by Republicans, what they refer to as, women's bodies literally just being a vessel, just being something to grow a child in. They're not even calling them women anymore. Also, Pete Heggs is retweeting something that suggests that women shouldn't vote. Why? I don't understand how America is so sleepy about this. I just don't think Britain would be.
I think you're absolutely right. We're an immature country. We always have been. You're an older country. You guys have been through a lot more. And women, believe it or not, Petrie, women in this country, MAGA women, are standing up for him while he's systematically stripping them of their rights. They already have Roe v. Wade, and that was the Christian far right. They already, so women can't control their own body. Now they're going to go after voting rights. They're going to strip women of birth control, which emancipated women, of course, in the United States during the 1960s. Birth control was illegal here until 1964. And now, of course, women were, they were free to go out and pursue careers just like you did, or they could stay at home if they wanted. They could do both. But they had the ability to control their bodies, and he wants to take that away, just like the right to vote. This big group of people behind him want to take it away, and they are well on their way to doing it. And women, for some reason, a lot of women, at least on the Republican side, just refuse to stand up.
What? I mean, the other thing is I'm going to mention the Epstein files because Trump doesn't want us to mention the Epstein files. And it seems that a lot of what he's doing at the moment is performative. It's look over there, look what's happening. If I say, will he get away with it? We know his name is in the files anyway. He's been told that. But will we ever know the truth about those files?
I don't know.
No.
I don't know. I assume pretty strongly, as you do, and a lot of people do, that his name is in the files. Now, whether he went to the Epstein Island and all that.
Yeah, I'm not saying that, but yeah.
We know, his background as a sex offender is pretty strong. There's a lot of women have come. I think 26 women have accused him of various degrees of sexual, assault. And so we know he's got this penchant for this. But whether he's in those, whether he's done anything wrong in terms of what Epstein did, I'm not sure. And I don't know. I don't know if we're ever going to see those files or not. But I would doubt it.
But the more it seems that he tries to stop people talking about the Epstein. I mean, somebody somewhere knows something. I would think that this is probably the worst kept secret. And somebody is going to spill some tea at some point, right?
You would think so. Even the MAGA cult, this cult of people, this 30 or 40% of our country that just they don't care what he does. They don't care what rights he takes. They don't care if he shot someone in the head. They 47% the other day came out in a poll, Petrie. This is hard to believe. And said, they asked the people if he's implicated in Epstein's files, would they still vote for him? And 47% of the people said yes.
I thought they were pro-rights and pro-children. And
me too.
Yeah. I mean, that's a cult. That's the cult behavior.
We're talking about pedophilia here. I mean, yeah. How low can it go? I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, it is terrifying. It is horrifying. But the other thing that is sort of in the background as well is this domestic civil disturbance force that they are proposing to bring onto America's streets. This is a force that is supposed to be able to be on the site of some disturbance within an hour. I don't know if that's possible or not. But is this just the end of peaceful protest? Because my idea of disturbance and your idea of disturbance may be very different things, but a protest, presumably taking over streets, is a disturbance.
Exactly. And in this country, if you're in our country, whether you're a citizen or not, you get due process. Well, that's not happening anymore. And they're literally, the ICE people are just literally pulling up in vans with masks on and not identifying themselves, not giving people due process. They're just pulling people in vans and ripping them from their families. And now they're talking about doing what you're talking about. And it's the same thing. There's no court. There's no due process. It's just, this is just what the king wants, the dictator Trump, and that's it. And there just doesn't seem to be a force big enough to stop it.
But I mean, and that is the thing, isn't it? I find that really difficult to understand that Americans seem to think, oh well, it'll be okay because we've only got 4 years. He declared that you wouldn't have to vote again if he was elected this time. And when he said that, I was like, oh, you know, that is horrifying. He's in love with Putin. We know that this meeting he's got with Putin, he's just going to bend to Putin because he's got a boy crush on him, and he admires dictators. I mean, are you concerned that he will not leave at the end of his term?
I'm terrified. And I mean, I'm being honest. I'm terrified. Everyone here I know is terrified, and there is some resistance being put up. There's a lot of us out there speaking out, and just not enough. And I mean, he just built. You know, he's building a $200 million ballroom at the White House, and which will be done at the end of this term, which he's supposed to leave. And what I've been telling the press, they say, you really think he's going to leave? Trump has never done a single act in his life for anyone else. He's building that ballroom because he's planning on staying until he comes out of that White House in a box. He might be 100 years old at the time, but he's planning on staying. I promise you he's not building that for the next president.
But, I mean, he's already got merch, hasn't he, ready for 2028?
Oh, of course.
But there are I mean, you have a constitution that makes that illegal. I mean, it's not, that isn't even up for debate, right? That's not even a wishy-washy thing in the Constitution. The 2 terms, that's it, you're out. How's he going to do it?
I don't know, but they're saying there's ways around it. There are a lot of people saying he's going to, in Washington that I know are saying he's going to work his way around it. And as you said, he said we'll never have to vote again. I mean, we're 6 months into this thing, Petrie, and he's done so much damage. I know I'm 60 years old. In my lifetime, I'll never see it. I can't imagine it could come back, if it ever comes back at all. But just you know, the things he's doing are with 3.5 more years, even if he did leave after 3.5 more years, if he lasts that long, the damage will, for the world, not just the United States. I mean, we put him in office. I mean, it's half the country deserves what they're getting. They voted for him.
Twice.
But the whole world, I mean, look what he's doing in Alaska with Putin on Friday. He's meeting without Zelensky, the war hero, the guy with the real guts. You know, Zelensky, he thinks he can make a deal with Putin and not even bring in Zelensky, who has been under attack for 3 years, a sovereign nation. And he says Zelensky doesn't have to be there because he won't matter.
I mean, yeah. Again, the whole thing is going to be a wild stitch up, and then Zelensky's going to be the bad guy again, because Putin knows how to fiddle with Trump, right?
Oh, yeah, he worships Putin, no question. Anyone that's a dictator, I think that has all power. That's what Trump loves. He loves the show of power, like when he had this little parade that cost us, $95 million, on the 4th of July with the tanks and everything, which looked ridiculous.
It was embarrassing.
It was absolutely embarrassing. It was. And but he loves these shows of force. Trump is a coward at heart. He's a coward, but he wants to look like a strong man. And so he puts on these big shows that are just ridiculous.
And look, a lot of people are saying, look, it doesn't matter if Trump goes, if he dies or, whatever. J.D. Vance is just as bad or even worse. What do you think of that?
I agree 100%. He's smarter and he's sneakier. And there's a lot of other people behind Vance that are smarter and sneakier. They're using Trump as a pawn. Again, he's a useful idiot, and they all know it. But, and so if Trump leaves tomorrow or dies tomorrow or whatever, we still have this corruption that runs very, very deep. And they're smarter and they're sneakier. And Christian nationalism, you mark my words, that's where they want to go, because they know the average person will buy into the Bible is, beyond reproach. You can't say anything about an ancient book because then you're a bad person. That's what they're going to fool the American public with. That's where it's all going.
And they thought The Handmaid's Tale was fiction.
Yeah.
I think somebody read that book. Steve, it is always a pleasure. One day we'll have a conversation about how fabulous America has turned out to be after all. But
that'd be nice, Petrie.
It would be nice. Take care, Steve. It's lovely to see you. Steve Siebold there, who is author and speaker on psychological performance training, who's known Donald Trump for years, for decades. So I tend to listen to what he has to say about that. Right, quick break. Back in a sec.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, it is Talk and it is Petrie, and of course coming up at midnight we have the phone in, the whole hour dedicated to you, and I want to know about universal credit. Jobless benefits claimants up by 1 million in just over a year, isn't it, since Labour came to power. A record 8 million now are on universal credit, and nearly half of those, 3.7 million, don't have to look for a job. So that's it. That if they want, that's it for life. So I want to understand universal credits, because I don't. It's not something I've ever applied for. I've been very lucky. Doesn't mean I won't in the future, but I haven't had to so far. Are they easy to get? Is this the issue? Do you, what is the process like? Is it just simple? Do you just go in and say, I haven't got a job and get... How does it work? Because from the outside looking in, and the numbers that are eye-watering, it does appear that they seem incredibly easy to get. So correct me, please, if I'm wrong. I probably am. But I'd love to hear from you about what it's like to go on universal credits. If you have to look for a job while you're on universal credits, what do you have to do? If you don't have to look for a job, what does that really mean? What I think it means, that they just leave you alone forever? What's it like to live just on universal credits? I know there's about 2 million people who, of that 8 million, who have got in-work benefits, so that just tops up their salaries to make sure that they can actually live, which I think is an absolute disgrace. I've spoken about this before, that companies should be paying that, not us. But as it stands, there's about 2 million, 2.2 actually, who are in work getting benefits. So I want to hear from you, because this is not my wheelhouse. I want to know what it's like. And if you live on universal credits, what's that like too? Because again, people would have us believe that you're going on holiday every, 3 months and buying a new car and televisions and new mobile phones. So I don't understand it. So please give me a call, let me know. 0344 499 1000. Calls are charged at the national rate, but we do call you back. You can text the word talk and your message as well to 87222. Coming up, we've got John Hearn in the studio talking us through a couple of movies. One is a must-see, the other is don't bother. And then I think there's one in the middle as well. So find out what they are if you stick with us. But coming up after the break, we're talking to Mal Fletcher.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there and a good evening. It's Petrie here with you until 1 o'clock. And while we look to the future, we may all feel a bit down and despondent about it. But what impact will AI have on that joy? Well, the man to speak to about this is the wonderful Mal Fletcher, futurologist and social commentator. Mal, it's lovely to see you. How are you?
I'm well, Petrie. How are you in this heat?
Good. I'm coping, actually. This studio is actually quite cool. They've fixed the air conditioning, so we're all right today, but who knows about tomorrow. AI and jobs. I was a bit despondent when I saw the list of the 40 most likely jobs that are going to be taken away by AI, because journalism is on that list. Editors and journalists, public relations specialists also were listed as jobs with tasks AI can perform effectively.
Yeah, I mean, it's a long list, isn't it? But it's basically probabilities, and we have to remember that there's nothing definitive about that. It's just probability based on what AI can do. But there are other factors we have to consider in AI in the jobs market. And one of them is public acceptance of the AI. Maybe the public doesn't accept a particular use of AI for a certain service. And so the organization or company has to change its approach a bit. There's no doubt that AI is going to affect jobs. I mean, I was reading just recently about China's new fully AI-operated virtual hospital built to service 10,000 patients a week in the virtual space. So you're not getting surgeries, but you're getting, consultations, diagnosis, and some level of treatment. So that's just one example of where AI could really have a big impact on jobs in a certain field. But as I say, there are certain types of jobs that won't be vulnerable to full takeover, either because the public doesn't like it or because they just involve skills that AI doesn't have. So, for example, work that requires highly creative or nuanced content. AI tends to spit out very generic content that lacks originality. There are jobs that involve complex decision-making and human judgment. So work that involves strategic leadership or crisis management or ethical decision-making. AI just doesn't have the emotional intelligence for that.
I would have thought that journalism would have fallen into that, because there is all of those things. You have to have, when I was doing some really very difficult work, you had to think ethically about, should I put this person's face on screen? Is that fair to them? Will they be in danger if I do it? If I interview this person, do I have to, interview them and put a fake voice on it? Do I have to? I remember one time spending hours taking the stutter out of a commander's voice, because he was one of the best military commanders I know, and I wanted him to have that respect from what he was saying. That's an ethical and critical thought. I don't know if AI would be capable of that.
Well, perhaps not. I certainly think that in any job that involves human information sharing or human contact, like journalism, we need to play up the empathic side more and more going forward, and stress the fact that we have real people talking to real people about the issues that affect real people. People really want to hear news, at least the big news, from other human beings who share their feelings about the news. And we shouldn't, as I say, assume that a line tracing AI's presence in the workspace will follow a steady upward path. Some companies even now are reining in their reliance on AI because they see its limitations. So AI, as I said, gives out generic content. Companies don't want that. They want originality. Companies are aware that AI hallucinates, producing inaccurate outputs at times. And that would undermine public trust in things like healthcare, for example. And organizations are concerned about AI bias and its tendency to sometimes bypass important regulations. And if you're in healthcare or finance, for example, you don't want to face the lawsuits that might result from that. So there are lots of ways in which the AI incursion into the jobs market is not as clear-cut as things like this table from Microsoft seem to represent.
I mean, it is good news, though, for those, at the moment, those physical jobs, isn't it? It is good news for people who are plumbers or plasterers or, you know, all of those jobs that we relied on completely during COVID. Those important jobs, you know, I don't know about bricklaying. They've probably got a machine that can do that, but certainly there's even massage therapists is on the list here as something that couldn't be done by an AI or a robot.
Well, it can't be done by AI-driven robots as they presently stand.
Yeah.
We have to be open-minded enough to say that there could come a time when robots can do just that. I mean, I remember, you will, when Sony couldn't get a robot to walk.
Yeah.
And that was only like 15 years ago. And now they can do somersaults and all sorts of things. So I think we have to have an open mind a bit on that. But I'm also concerned in all this talk about AI in the jobs market, about the growing concentration of power in the hands of the biggest AI developers. The usual suspects, you know, Google, Meta, Apple, people like that. They've all set out these big plans for the next phase of AI, and that will open up some exciting possibilities, but it could also do some damage. It could undermine democracy. It could give big tech more influence in society than governments have. Look at the power Elon Musk had recently on the balance of the Ukraine-Russia situation because of his Starlight.
Well, exactly, and already it appears that he's got way too much power in one person's hands, and you know, we've seen how that gets messed up with politics on some occasions, and you know, that is frightening, and I know that across Europe they're looking at monopolies now in the technological field and trying to figure out how they break those down so that one person doesn't dictate if you can take a mobile phone anywhere, call it anywhere in the world, right? But what's worrying though is in America, Trump has just signed his big bill. I refuse to call it beautiful. His big bill, saying that there will be absolutely no oversight on AI for the next 10 years.
Yeah, that is a bit frightening, and I hope that wiser heads prevail in the end in American Congress and other houses of government. But I think the political threat from AI is going to grow the more we rely on AI for things that governments provided before. So areas like healthcare, we've got our health minister saying now that we could have, you know, a doctor in the pocket because of AI. But a recent report here in the UK showed that when women access AI health services, they're advised to see a doctor much less often than men. So there's bias in there that needs to be dealt with. And I think AI developers can also destabilize economies by pressuring governments into things like fully cashless economies that rely entirely on data, which of course they control. And they could also force new labour policies that suit their particular interests. So we need to keep a careful eye, not just on the AI, but on the powers behind the throne, as it were.
Well, and also those powers change. That is something we can't control.
Yeah, well,
you might have a benign owner one year and a one that means harm the next.
Yeah, which is why we need very clear regulations based in sound ethics. But we also, as individuals, need to be careful how much we rely on AI. If we're not careful, if we're not watchful, we'll sleepwalk into a situation where we allow AI to replace human thinking rather than augment it. We need to restrict our reliance on AI in the way that many of us now limit our time on social media. You know, we can't afford to see AI as our cognitive superior or on every level. It needs to be our partner or our servant. And we need regulation to back that up. And we need to educate ourselves on how to discipline our use of AI.
The trouble is that young people are being groomed, aren't they? Into this technology, like with phones. I mean, you and I are lucky we had a childhood without that oversight, right? We had a childhood without that constant nagging from a computer in your pocket. And these kids are just not, they're just inure to it all.
Yeah, and, I've advocated for a while that we need people of all ages to be better educated on how data is collected, analysed and used. So data literacy training should be part of every school curriculum, all the way through to university into the workplace. It would help us going too far down the rabbit hole of advanced technologies without thinking critically or strategically about where they're going to lead us.
And just finally, I know this is a bigger conversation than we've got time for, but to use AI in the justice system, again, it feels to me like the justice system should be human-led. Because of nuances, because of different, it's not black and white. Is that something we should be concerned about?
Yes, it is, absolutely. It's a great area to demonstrate what we call keeping humans in the loop. We might use AI, especially large language models, to do things like help with research and looking at, precedent and all of those things that the law looks for. But we can't rely on it in the human interface. People need to feel that a human being is sitting in judgment on them, someone who understands human flaws and someone who understands mitigating circumstances and takes them into account. You can't do that necessarily with a machine. Humans can do things that machines can't. We just need to keep that in mind and make sure that governments keep that in mind.
The trouble is, if it's cheaper, we know which way they're going to go. It's all about follow the money. Mal, it's always such a pleasure to talk to you, although I do have nightmares after it, but thank you so much.
I'm sorry about that.
Thank you for joining me. Mal Fletcher there, futurologist and social commentator. Stay where you are. Movies next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, this is Talk and it is Petrie, and just a reminder that Kevin Schofield joins us at the top of the hour to go through, what day is it? Wednesdays at newspapers. Right. Before that though, we've got some movies to talk about. So John Hearn, our filmmaker and film reporter, is here to talk us through these movies. First one I've heard a lot about.
Yes. Now, we've had a summer where there's been a lot of remakes and sequels, prequels, reimaginings. We're going to talk about a sequel coming up and a reimagining coming up. So I've kind of been really sort of trudging through movies because they've all just been, every time I see something, oh, it's another remake as well. Sometimes they're fine, but you know. So I was really happy when I first heard about this film, Weapons, because it is something new. It's something original. It's written and directed by a guy, Zach Krieger, who wrote and directed a film called Barbarian a couple of years ago, which was absolutely brilliant. It was a really, really creepy, terrifying horror film. A very, very original kind of story as well. And it was a massive worldwide hit. And as a result, he basically told you can do whatever you want. And he's come up with this story. So the premise is There's a small little town somewhere in America, it doesn't really say where. And in the middle of the night, at 2:17 in the morning, all the kids from one elementary school class, bar one, just get up out of their beds and run away, disappear into the night, and nobody can find them. And of course, the town is petrified. The town is, concerned, wanting to find their children. Turn on the teacher, this young woman who was their school teacher, thinking she's a witch, thinking that she's done something in the class, or she's said something, or done something, or didn't hear what they were saying, or putting the blame on her. And the story then follows 4 or 5 different people who are affected by this. So it starts off with her, it then goes to the father of one of the kids who's missing, it then goes to the principal of the school, it then goes to the young lad who is the one left behind, and it tells all these events immediately after the disappearance of the children through the eyes of these different people. And then it starts to bring together all the threads of these stories to tell you what is going on. And it's a very creepy kind of situation that's happening.
Right, well, we've got a trailer clip. So let's have a look or a listen to Weapons. It's an 18. And it's 2 hours and 8, and it's in cinemas now.
The surveillance in...
Does it deserve its 18?
The ending is quite violent and gory. Most of it isn't. Most of it's just a bit creepy. There are a few moments when, because what happens afterwards is some of the parents start acting a bit strange and start sort of freaking out. And so there are a few moments of sort of graphic horror and violence. The ending is very gory and bloody, which I imagine is why it's got an 18 sticker. But most of it isn't. Most of it would normally be a sort of a 15, because it's more kind of creepy than it is, blood and guts horror.
But it's called Weapons. Is that explained?
That is explained about halfway through the film, because I was thinking that.
Yeah, but you don't have to explain it. But I just hope it is explained.
It does actually explain it, because I was thinking that exactly same thing halfway through the film. I was thinking, hang on a minute, why is this film called Weapons?
Yeah.
It's got nothing to do with weapons. It is actually explained,
okay.
And it's tied in with, which is quite an interesting and original reason behind what has happened to these children, which as you saw Josh Brolin there in that clip, leads the investigation with the elementary school teacher to try and work out what's been going on.
I've heard brilliant things about it.
It is really good.
A lot of people have said it's a really, truly original.
It's one of the standout
creepy
films of the year for me,
Yeah. What about Freakier Friday?
Okay, so Freakier Friday is a sequel to a film that was released in 2003, which was a remake of a film that was released in 1976, which was an adaptation of a book.
Right, so it's been around.
It's been around. So Disney have had the rights to this for 50 odd years and decided to milk it again. The basic premise is, in the original story, the basic premise is you have a mother and daughter, teenage daughter, and the mother, they don't get on very well, and they're always kind of saying, oh, you don't understand me, and you don't get my life, and then the other one saying, oh, but you don't get me, blah blah. Yeah, loggerheads as you do. And then for some inexplicable reason, they wake up in the morning and they've swapped over. So the mind of one has gone into the body of the other. So the teenage girl...
And then they begin to understand each other.
Yeah, after some sort of comic capers and whatever. Now, the original one, I watched that over the weekend because I'd never seen it. It stars Jodie Foster and Barbara Harris. A very young Jodie Foster. And it's very, very twee Disney kind of 1970s, in the way that Disney films were in the 60s and 70s. Very, very twee. The humour is a little bit daft and silly. There's a car chase with a Herbie car, Beetle. And a very, very stupid kind of ending. In the typical kind of Disney, it's a U certificate. It's very, very calm and gentle, as you would expect. I then watched the 2003...
Wasn't Jamie Lee Curtis in that as well?
No, not that one, no. She was in the 2003 one. So the 2003 film, it's Jamie Lee Curtis plays the mother, and Lindsay Lohan, who was at her peak at that time, before she went a little bit crazy and went off the rails. And so they play the mother and daughter.
Right.
And it's very much been updated, that 2003 film, so it's a lot less twee, and it's a bit more kind of grown up, as it were, for a kids' film. But actually quite funny. There's some of the situations they get into. Lindsay Lohan plays in a band, and her mum doesn't understand it, and then she ends up having to play the gig but the mother has to play instead of her, kind of, you know. And they brought in this thing about the mother, Jamie Lee Curtis, is getting married to another guy, and the daughter doesn't like it, and so that's where they clash. And there's also a bit more of an explanation about why they swap over. So that's, you know, it's actually quite good, quite funny. So this is then set 22 years later. So now they've all grown up a bit. Lindsay Lohan is now a mother. She has a teenage daughter who she doesn't get on with, obviously. She gets on a little bit all right with Jamie Lee Curtis. Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan have reprised their roles in this film, as have a lot of the peripheral characters have come back to bring back their characters. And so if
I'm already bored. Not with you.
No,
but with
I'm trying to sell this.
I know.
All right, let me find something that's good about this film. Jamie Lee Curtis is brilliant.
She's brilliant.
She's
I love her.
Absolutely hilarious, because she's got the great role of an adult playing a child. It's an absolute gift of a part. She was brilliant in the 2003 film. She's even better in this one because she's playing somebody who's in her 60s, but suddenly has the mind of a teenager. Somebody who's 15 in her body, and she plays that absolutely to perfection. She's very, very funny. Lindsay Lohan actually is also very funny in this, because she gets to do that as well. Yeah. Because she's playing an adult who has a teenager trapped inside her head. So that's more fun than the other one, which is the two teenage girls having adults in them, so they have to be a bit more kind of sensible. So the Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan are very, very funny in this, and that is in itself, it's kind of worth watching.
It's kind of worth watching. Is it kind of worth going to the cinema to watch?
Not necessarily. It'll be on Disney. The other two, by the way, are on Disney Plus. This will be on Disney Plus in a couple of months. I would say sit and binge watch the three of them one Sunday afternoon. Yeah,
that's what I'm going to do. Freakier Friday. It's a PG. It's 1 hour 50. That's a blessing. And it's in cinemas now. Here is a look or a listen.
Change the hearts you know are wrong. To reach the place where you belong.
Oh my God, what is happening? Okay, it's who am I? It's me. It's Mom. If you're me and I'm you, then who's that? I'm Grandma, sweetheart. Yeah! Last time, we convinced everyone that we were each other until we switched back.
I didn't want to be a part of this family, and now I'm part of some dodgy family curse? And I'm the eldest?
As teenagers, we have no power. But as adults,
we can break our parents up for good. All you have to do is reunite her with her first love. Very good. Lip your hair. Good. Big moves. Bite your lip. Not your top lip, your bottom lip.
I know what this is. You're having a stroke.
No, I just need to go to the bathroom.
It's all right.
There's some funny lines in it.
I do really like Jamie Lee Curtis. I think she was brilliant in Trading Places. Yes. Just amazing. And then there's the doozer. I have not read a good review of this film.
Well, you won't. This film is brilliant in the sense that it has a 0% rating in Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Which is incredible for a film to have 0%. Right. So this is a reimagining of War of the Worlds, set with a guy, Ice-T plays
Ice Cube.
Ice Cube, sorry. He plays a computer government nerdy guy who can hack into any camera, any database, control cars and whatever. And he's trying to track down who this sort of document leaker character is. I wonder who that's going to be. And then these aliens turn up to try and steal data.
But the whole thing is set in front of screens. We've got a quick clip of this because I don't want to run out of time. This is War of the Worlds. It's a PG-13. It's 1 hour and 31 minutes that you'll never get back.
The surveillance industrial complex is collecting massive amounts of data with the Goliath program. Our most precious resource on Earth is data. And data is food for the superior intelligence.
Dad, have you seen this? Have you seen this? You're telling yet what they're comprised of?
No, sir. I've never seen anything like this.
Eyewitness video is coming in from all over the world. Terrifying machines rising out of these meteors. Get away from that! Get out of there!
Yeah, I watched this.
Oh dear.
And it's an advert for Amazon.
The whole climax of the film centres around somebody ordering something from Amazon and having it delivered. The whole of I wouldn't normally give spoilers, but don't watch this, it's rubbish. The whole of the climax of the movie centres on somebody ordering something from Amazon and having it delivered in order to save the world. That's how preposterously stupid this film is. Do not watch it, because if you watch it, they'll make more.
Don't watch it. Don't. John, thank you. Right, so coming up, Kevin Schofield.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, it is Petrie here with you, and with me, I'm surprised actually. I thought I'd be talking to him from Guantanamo Bay, but Kevin Schofield returns from the United States, political editor of the Huffington Post UK. How are you, Kevin?
I'm very well, Petrie. How are you?
Well, I've got to get rid of all my free Kevin T-shirts now. I was completely convinced.
Them all on eBay.
Yeah. How was the US of A?
It was fantastic. Yeah, absolutely brilliant time. We saw a decent amount of the country, so it was great. Yeah, I didn't get a dawn knock on the door from ICE wanting to take me into custody, which was a bonus.
I think that would have happened as you went through passport control. So if once you were in, I think you were reasonably safe.
Yeah, I breathed a sigh of relief. Although there was one young guy actually who was in the queue in front of us who was fairly extensively interrogated, shall we say, by the border official, then was huckled away for further questioning.
Were my words ringing through your head at that point?
Absolutely. I thought, I know someone who might be able to help you here, mate.
Yeah, unless his name was Kevin, I didn't have the T-shirts ready. Anyway, it's good to see you back. I'm glad you enjoyed yourself. Before we get to the papers, the jobless numbers, or the benefits claimants numbers, up by 1 million since Labour came to power. That's a record 8 million, and nearly half of those people don't have to look for work again. This is another failure of Labour, isn't it? Didn't they say they were going to get a grip on this? I mean, I know Starmer tried to and was overthrown by his backbenchers, but this is not sustainable. 1 million every year, that would be disastrous.
You're right. It's not sustainable, and that's why, as you say, Labour tried to fix it. They brought forward this bill, the Working Pension Secretary Liz Kendall, which was supposed to get people off benefits and back into work. It was supposed to save £5 billion, but Labour MPs weren't wearing it, and they forced Keir Starmer into a pretty humiliating climb down, which, when you consider he's got a massive majority of anything up to 165 seats, it just shows how difficult it is for a Labour government to push through, which on the face of it are actually quite minor reforms in terms of the cost savings. £5 billion isn't a huge amount of money, but Labour backbenchers just were not having it. So he had to roll back on it. And, that's not why these figures are as they are. Obviously, there's more longer-term trends at work. But, for a government that wants to grow the economy, it just can't afford to have so many people not working. And I don't know what they're going to do about it. And not least for the reason is that it costs so much money. And these benefit payments, they all add up. That was why the government tried to make these savings, as I say. The Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, had banked those savings. They'd gone into her sums. And now she's got to find the money from somewhere else. So it's another huge problem. And unless Labour get to grips with it, then it's a problem that's probably only going to get worse.
And it just seems, obviously, the fewer people that are working, those people who are working have to pay more tax to support those people who aren't working. And I understand the welfare state, but it wasn't set up to be like that.
No, I mean, everyone agrees that there needs to be a safety net for people who genuinely cannot work, or for people who, through no fault of their own, become unemployed. But it's supposed to tide them over and help them get back into work again. And it looks as though, certainly these figures would suggest, that there are just far too many people being consigned to a lifetime on benefits. It's not good for them. It's certainly not good for the economy. And it's a massive headache for the government. And they did try the reform. It fell flat in its face. I'm actually going to be seeing Liz Kendall tomorrow, so I'll take the opportunity to ask her exactly what the big idea is now to try and turn this around.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the numbers coming through for Labour at the moment are just completely pointing to abject failure. We saw the numbers of migrants coming across on boats go over 50,000 in the year. I mean, and that is the highest number that I've known for I think ever for a year. But certainly since Labour came into power, it's something like 50,270 odd people. That is a blow to Labour. That's also a blow to budgets. That's a blow to the money that's available for Rachel Reeves to spend on anything else. And then you've got these universal credit numbers that are a real punch in the face for Labour as well.
Yeah, it's been a very grim day for the government today, as you say, not just the benefit figures, but also these small boat crossings. The fastest to reach 50,000 under a Prime Minister. I think it took twice as long under Boris Johnson. It took more time, like 600 odd days, I think it was, under Rishi Sunak. Now, obviously, Rishi Sunak paid with his job. He said he would stop the boats. He didn't, and was booted out quite comprehensively at the last election. Keir Starmer said he would smash the gangs. He's definitely not smashing the gangs. And the next election, it's probably 4 years away. But unless these attempts that the government are making to try and tackle this problem bear fruit, then I think Keir Starmer's going to probably go the same way as his predecessor Rishi Sunak did. So that's the stakes. That's how high the stakes are for the Prime Minister and for the government. And he's got to hope that the numbers turn around soon. But again, there just doesn't seem to be any sign of that happening at all.
No, and if they don't, either of these numbers, significantly turn around, he's not going to see out this premiership.
Well, I mean, it does seem crazy to even talk about a guy who won a landslide last year and who's got a huge majority, but there's no doubt that conversations are being had among Labour MPs as to whether or not he can survive until the next election. Certainly, it's not just this issue, it's not just benefits. There's all sorts of other areas where the government just doesn't seem to be getting onto the front foot, just doesn't seem to be doing good stuff as far as the government, as far as the electorate would be concerned. Now, the government would point to things like the trade deal with America, the trade deal with India, longer term measures that they're taking. But unless voters quickly see results, we're in a world now where people want results yesterday. And that's maybe not fair, but that's just the reality, and that's what the government has got to contend with. And unless come the next election, or maybe even within the next year or two, Keir Starmer can point to tangible benefits, the small boat crossings falling.
And that is the number one issue now.
It is absolutely
it's a one-issue country at the moment, I think, rightly or wrongly.
You're right. It's completely shot up the government, the electorate's list of priorities, without a doubt. NHS waiting list, that's a good news story, but if we do get more strikes, then that might turn around again in a negative way as far as the government is concerned. So, unless, as I say, they can point to tangible benefits within the next year or two, then I think Keir Starmer could be in a bit of bother. And remember, we've got local elections coming up in May, elections in Scotland, elections in Wales. If Labour do badly in all of those elections, then he'll really come under an awful lot of pressure.
Yeah, and also we've got the budget coming up soon. Then that's going to be a kick in the teeth as well.
It's going to be absolutely another speculation. We'll come to it in a moment, I think, but the speculation in a couple of front pages as to other tax rises that Rachel Reeves might have to consider to try and plug, anything up to a £50 billion black hole. Now, when Labour came to power, they talked about a £22 billion black hole that had been left by the Tories. They put up taxes by about £40 billion, I think it was, last year.
And we've doubled the black hole.
And the black hole has actually got bigger because the economy is not growing anywhere like the government needs it to. Things like the benefit bill, that £5 billion that Rachel Reeves thought that she would have, that's gone. The cost of borrowing for the government has gone up. So the cost of servicing the nation's debt has gone through the roof. All these things are conspiring to mean that the pressure on the Chancellor is absolutely enormous, and I've no idea really how she's going to make her sums add up without potentially breaking those big promises.
She's got to break one of those promises, otherwise she won't be able to do it. She's either got to break the tax promise or the fiscal lever that she can pull.
Absolutely. And they also talked about stopping austerity. Well, I don't see how you can make the sums add up without some pretty deep spending cuts as well.
I mean, no wonder she was crying. I'd cry. I mean...
No, absolutely. Well, funny enough, I was speaking to someone in government a couple of days ago about, we're just talking about that again, and I think we've kind of reading between the lines, we think that more than likely that was the sort of straw that broke the camel's back. She's under an awful lot of pressure. And this budget coming up.
I mean, most of it's self-imposed.
It's surprising that she's so upset.
Yeah, I'm surprised she hasn't quit. But, some of those things, I've spoken to a lot of economists, I'm sure you have as well, were stupid. I mean, it was a self-imposed kick in the face, those promises that she made.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the putting up national insurance on employers, I think that has backfired in terms of, you look at the job numbers.
Market, yeah.
People just aren't, businesses are not employing people at the same
People aren't
rate.
getting pay rises because of that as well.
Absolutely, which again feeds into the economy because people then just don't have the same amount of money to spend. And also the political disaster of the winter fuel payment, which they had to U-turn on, embarrassingly. That, again, even though they've U-turned on it, or partially U-turned on it, I think that is another decision that will haunt them probably all the way to the next election.
Again, self-inflicted harm. I mean, for no real benefit.
No real benefit at all.
It was a political statement, I'm convinced of it, to prove that they were going to be tough, but that they didn't have the backbone or other parts of the anatomy to stand by it. So,
exactly. Again, that was another example of them coming under an awful lot of pressure from their own backbenchers, but also from the opposition as well. And just the voting public really just would not wear it. They just thought it was a bad policy. And
it was a stupid policy that gave not very much money and just put them immediately. The recovery from that was never going to be easy, and in fact hasn't been, and I don't think they will.
No, and it forced them into an embarrassing U-turn, and they tried to put a positive spin on it by saying, it's because we've stabilised the economy, that's why we can do it. No one was behind that at
No
all.
one thought that.
They just made a bad situation even worse by trying to mislead the voters into the reason why they did it. They did it because their backs were against the wall, and politically it was just awful. And spoke to Labour MPs before the U-turn, and they were just saying every doorstep that they knocked on, pretty much they were getting it in the ear from angry voters about the winter fuel payment decision. And
actually, what it's done is it's displayed that Keir Starmer's got the backbone of a jellyfish.
Well, that's it. It's just another U-turn. There's been a succession of climb downs by Keir Starmer. Now, if you want to be kind to him, you'd say, well, he's a pragmatist. If you're in a hole, stop digging. But at the same time, I think people like their voters, like their politicians as well, to have a bit of backbone and actually stand by their decisions, even if they're actually pretty unpopular. Or just stand for something.
Something. We don't even know what he stands for. Yeah,
that's a massive problem.
It really is, and they are terrible communicators. Terrible.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
I've never known anything like it.
Yeah, it's not been great. There's been turmoil in Number 10, obviously, throughout. You remember Sue Gray, if you remember her. She got sacked within the first 100 days. They had a big shake-up of their communications department. They're bringing in another senior figure above their communications people in Number 10 to try and sort out the government's communications. So they acknowledge that they're not telling a very positive story. But at the same time, there's not a great story for them to tell. It's pretty gloomy.
Yeah, really is. Right, let's just have a quick look at the Seattle Times before we move on to the British papers. Trump takes over DC. Police takes over the police, federalise the police, and putting in National Guard, citing bloodthirsty criminals. Even though crime numbers in Washington are falling. I spoke to somebody who knows Donald Trump earlier on in the programme who said this is just about Trump wanting to clear out the homeless people. But why go to these lengths?
Well, I don't think it's a coincidence that these are cities. Remember he did the same in California, in Los Angeles, where Gavin Newsom is the governor, who's a Democrat. It's a Democrat who runs DC as well.
Yeah.
And this is hugely political, and it's interesting. There are definite parallels with this country as well, where you see Robert Jenrick of the Tories, you see Nigel Farage of Reform, really laying into Sadiq Khan in London, trying to paint this picture of London as some sort of crime-ridden hellscape. Now, there's no doubt it's not perfect, and there is crime undoubtedly, but I think it's straight out of the Trump playbook as well. You see similarities there. What they're trying to do is emphasise, well, if you've got Labour running things, the crime runs riot, and this is what Trump is trying to do. It's very, very political. I don't think he cares all that much about helping the good people of Washington, D.C. It's all about making the Democrats look bad, and it's a pretty extraordinary step that he's taking. It's
unbelievable. A lot of people don't really understand that having soldiers on the street, and Hegseth is sending some soldiers as well. The FBI walking around with cops, meaning that they're not doing FBI work. They're not trained to do the kind of work that the coppers are trained to do. Certainly the National Guard are not. They're usually there to help with disasters like floods or fires. Yep. They're not used to that. They're being told not to carry weapons at this stage. But the idea of uniformed soldiers on civilian streets potentially with guns, to what, attack American citizens?
Yeah,
I mean it's unthinkable.
It does. It feels very authoritarian, doesn't it? And he's warned as well that other cities could follow.
Democrat cities, yeah.
Other Democrat cities, again emphasising how this is a deeply political move. And for a country that is the land of the free, people who cherish their freedoms, it's a pretty worrying, to put it mildly, step when so much power is being handed over to the police and to the military to impose the law in American cities, and
it's extraordinary.
It's un-American, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's completely unprecedented.
I'm just trying to imagine how we would feel if they had the soldiers out on British streets. It'd be like, no, that's not that's not the rule here. That shouldn't happen. And that's exactly. But I didn't realise, Kevin, that in Washington DC, last month they instituted a curfew on under 17-year-olds. There's a statewide curfew on under 17-year-olds or 18-year-olds. They have to be indoors by 11 o'clock in the evening and not allowed back out by 6 o'clock in the morning. That had escaped me. I mean, that's also authoritarian.
It is. It's quite scary, really. And it says in the story here that he's doing this, talking about bloodthirsty criminals, even though crime numbers in Washington are actually falling. So there doesn't even appear to be the empirical evidence to back up what he's saying as to justify these extraordinary measures that he's taken.
No, but if he says it, therefore it's true, right? I mean that seems to be the general rule. Well, he's got 30 days up until which point he has to get congressional support for some other section of the law that they drag from the 1800s. But it depends what he sees it going forward. It's extraordinary. It really is interesting times. Just quickly, there's another story that I just wanted to talk about, because of course there's the homeless story as well. But Europeans seek talks with Trump before Russia summit. What do you think they're hoping to achieve by that?
Well, I think they're trying to impress upon Donald Trump that, that Putin is not to be trusted, and that the idea of a peace settlement being imposed upon Ukraine is just completely unacceptable, and that the idea that that Putin and Trump should somehow cook up some sort of deal which would see Ukraine being forced to give up what it sees as its land would be absolutely beyond the pale. Now, whether or not Trump would listen to them is a different matter entirely, but obviously Europe are trying their very best to influence what will be a hugely significant meeting in Alaska on Friday between Putin and Trump. But all the indications coming from Trump thus far is that he just wants this over and done with. And
but he's flip-flopped back into supporting Putin, it seems.
Absolutely.
And he's in awe of him, right? We know he just thinks this guy's the best thing since sliced bread. So he's going to agree with everything that Trump said, that Putin says, and Putin's playing for time. We know that.
Absolutely. Well, Putin's got absolutely no interest in ending the war. He wants to keep going until he controls all of Ukraine. So the idea that he's just going to draw stumps and say, right, that's that, thanks very much, is for the birds. But it's not just Putin. I mean, it's President Xi, Orban. He loves these strongman leaders. He sees himself as one of them. Dictators, autocrats, authoritarians, call them what you will, but he is, as you say, in awe of these people. And you're right, he's completely flip-flopped. He's gone from attacking Zelensky to attacking Putin to back attacking Zelensky again, making bizarre comments about how Zelensky should never allowed this war to happen, all this type of stuff. I mean, it's just absolutely bonkers. But it's very worrying, and if Ukraine are presented with an unacceptable deal after these talks on Friday, you can absolutely see how it's going to play out. Trump will,
he'll then blame Zelensky, and then withdraw money.
And then Putin will just continue bombing.
Yeah, we can see it. We don't even need to wait until Friday. Quick break, Kevin. Back in a sec.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hi there, this is Talk, and it's Petrie here, and Kevin Schofield, the political editor at the Huffington Post, is also with us, going through Wednesday's papers. Let's have a look at the Express, Kevin. We've got that record 8 million people on universal credit that we were talking about earlier. There's a statement here that says the UK desperately needs a system that can identify the genuinely needy from the obviously work shy.
Yeah, I mean, this is something though that every government that I can remember always says that it's going to crack down on. You know, they say that they will root out the scroungers, skivers, all that type of thing, and we'll make sure that they have to accept an offer of work, a reasonable offer of work, and that way we'll bring down the benefit bill, and nothing ever seems to get done. And again, the reason this is a massive problem, one of the reasons it's a massive problem for Labour as well, is that this is just another stick that Reform and Nigel Farage can use to beat Keir Starmer about the head with, and the Tories as well, because he can say, well, look, the Tories did nothing to fix it, Labour have done nothing to fix it, we will fix it. Now, when you ask him how he's going to fix it, that's when he kind of stumbles a bit and doesn't actually come up with any tangible policies. However, at the moment, people are just so sick fed up of the government. They just think it's failing on every possible metric, and this is just another example of it. And it's difficult for the government to try and argue against it, because as far as I can tell, they don't have any obvious policy that you can point to say, well, don't worry, we'll turn this around, this is what we're going to do. They've tried that with the welfare reform bill. They had to water it down till it meant absolutely nothing, and this is where we find ourselves.
I tell you what, I was reading through today some of the release from the government, and £1 in every £10, which amounts to £6.5 billion a year, is wrongly handed out.
I mean, it's just extraordinary, isn't it?
That is an admin error.
Yeah.
Of 10% of the overall universal credit bill is thrown away by poor admin. I mean, this is like the water companies for me. It's sort out your own mess. They could save not 5 billion that Rachel Reeves wanted, but 6.5 billion a year every year if they sorted out these wrong payments, not fake payments, not corruption, not fraud. These are mistakes.
Yep, absolutely, and yet again, I mean, I've lost count the amount of reports that I've read about this, and successive governments say, we're going to root out waste and fraud, and that way, we won't have to put up taxes. Well, it just never happens, and yet, as we were just discussing, come the budget, Rachel Reeves is undoubtedly going to be putting up taxes. Now, the £6.5 billion, that wouldn't fill the black hole.
No, but it would have covered up the 5 billion that they lost through reforms.
It would certainly help.
If they said, look, we were going to reform it, we've realised we didn't have to. If we just stopped giving out money, wrongly, we could save 6.5 billion. There you go, jobs are good. That's a start.
Well, it would be, if they could do it, and they just don't. And again, it's just another thing that voters, they tear their hair out. You think, well, why should I go to work, pay my taxes, if so much of it is going to be just
away?
Might as well you just burn it, really, because it's been completely wasted. And yet it's another problem to add to the huge list of problems that the government's got to try and sort out.
It's just embarrassing, and it's because it's not their money, it's our money. They're just like, oh, well, they know it's happening. They just don't seem to be able to get a grip on it. And if that's happening with universal credit, that's happening across government.
Oh, yeah, there'll be waste and fraud, fraudulent payments that are not clawed back, money that's basically just wasted, paid out, that is mistakenly paid out when it shouldn't be. It goes on all the time. Now, it's always going to happen. You're never going to root out every last penny of waste. But when you get to, you know, $6.5 billion on one benefit alone, it is absolutely mind-boggling. And as I say, it's just another reason why voters are just thoroughly sick, fed up.
I mean, I'd notice if I lost $6.5 billion.
I think I probably would.
I might. Yeah, on a bad day, if I was looking at my accounts, I might.
I'll go and check my bank account.
Just check now. $6.5 billion. The iPaper, just quickly before the break. The Home Office accused of failing to tell Calais migrants about small boats returns deal. What?
Yeah, well, the whole point of this is meant to be a deterrent, isn't it? That there's a good chance, it's not guaranteed, but there's a reasonable chance that if you make it here in a small boat, that you'll just get sent back again to France.
You haven't told anyone.
But if you've not told them, then it's not going to act as much of a deterrent if they don't know about it.
Honestly, the incompetence is ridiculous.
And judging by the numbers that are continuing to come, then it would appear that it's they either know about it and don't care, or they don't even know about it, in which case, what was the point?
Unbelievable.
So again, that was meant to be, you know, a big idea, the big idea that was going to solve the problem. Now, Keir Starmer only signed the agreement about a month ago with Emmanuel Macron, so you've got to give it time to bed in and to work through. But the early signs aren't great, are they?
Not really, not if they're not telling people about it. And the big story on the eye is a clampdown on stone imports after deadly lung disease linked to kitchen revamps. And this is a lot of those kitchen fitters soaring through stone and breathing in all of the dust, which is causing real problems for them. Yeah,
it's man-made quartz, which apparently is cheaper than the natural stone, can have a high silica content, and that can be very damaging to people's health. And it's more the workmen themselves who are obviously cutting up this stuff, and dust blows up obviously, and they then breathe it in, and they can be. I mean, it sounds really nasty actually.
It sounds like the asbestos type.
It's very similar, isn't it? Young workers' deaths, at least an incurable lung disease, because they're using this artificial man-made stone, which is obviously cheaper than the real thing. So the government are going to start clamping down on it.
Yeah, quite right too. That's the eye has chosen. Let's take a quick break before we get back to the papers.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, this is Talk, and it is Petrie, and with me, Kevin Schofield, political editor at the Huffington Post UK. So look at the Daily Star. They've changed their tag to News with a Wink. Isn't that awful?
It was dreadful. Terrible. News with a wink. I'm not sure what that even means.
I don't even know. I'm not even sure that's legal these days, but there you go. The hat trick of hosts. We won't gob off like Gaz. I don't think he cares. He's a multi-gazillionaire and he's just got a new job on ITV. But Match of the Day's trio of new hosts have vowed the revamped show will focus strictly on footy and not their personal opinions. I don't even know who they are. I think that's Gabby Logan.
Yes, correct. Gabby Logan. Now, the woman on the right is Kelly Cates, whose her maiden name is Dalgleish. You might have heard of.
Oh, I've heard that name. No nepotism here, then.
To be fair, I will stick up for her here. She is very good. Yeah, she's very good.
And who's the grumpy-looking fella?
His name is Mark Chapman, Chappers. Chappers, as he's known. He's actually very good. He's like he's been with the BBC for a long time, and he presents just about everything. You name it, he's presented it, and he's been doing Match of the Day 2 for several years. That's the highlights programme on a Sunday night. So he was always in the running for it. He's safe pair of hands, consummate professional. The sort of, when it comes to his political views, no idea. He's not on social media, so he's,
that's refreshing. Yeah, that's a manna for them. Yeah,
absolutely. After Gary Lineker, they don't have to worry about Mark Chapman mouthing off about the Tories or Reform or Labour, whatever. He will not get involved in any controversy, and he'd have been interviewed by the Radio Times because the football season starts on Saturday. On Friday night, actually, the new Premier League season. So this is the first Match of the Day will be on Saturday night, and they've given this big interview, and the top line is, we're not going to be controversial like Gary Lineker, and given that he lost his job over it, you're absolutely damn right they won't be controversial.
That was number one on the line of their new contracts.
Absolutely.
And the good thing is that these three won't even add up to what Lineker was on. So
I would doubt it. Yeah, I would doubt
3-for-1 deal, or 3-for-half.
Well, that's absolutely right. I mean, he was on, I think, 1.4 million was the last published salary that he had at the BBC. I mean, the three of them between them add up to something approaching that, but I don't think it'll be any more than that.
It definitely won't.
They've managed to get three for the less than the price of one.
Yeah, so I think they're under $1 million for the three of them, I reckon.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're probably right. I mean, you maybe chuck in a few other gigs that they've got that might tip them over it, but yeah, I think purely for doing Match of the Day, then they won't be anything like what Gary Lineker was. And Kelly Cates and it's a bit of a coup for them because she was with Sky before and they managed to poach her from Sky, so she's quite a big name. I have got a soft spot for her because her dad's Kenny Dalglish, who's my ultimate football hero. So
is he?
I have to
slightly biased.
Slightly biased.
That's all right. We allow that. The Independent, abject failure as smuggling arrests fall under Labour. I mean, again, this is not a front page that he wants to read after he's smashed the gangs. Maybe he said the gangs are smashing with a wink. Who knows? But maybe we misheard him. I don't know. Yeah, so this is even more now that the whole theory that he was going to smash these gangs is looking even more of a joke.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we don't have the details of the story, obviously, just from the front page, but it speaks volumes, really, that headline of smuggling arrests are actually going down. I mean, how on earth are you going to smash the gangs if you're not even arresting as many of the gang masters as were being arrested previously? And that's not going to help solve the problem. If anything, it's just going to make the problem even worse, and it is worse than it was even under the Conservatives. And you think back to the days when it was migrants coming over in lorries. That was the big thing, and that ended. But now this just completely dwarfs that. It's just day after day, especially when the weather is good like it is at the moment. It's just relentless. And the government seems absolutely powerless.
I mean, it just looks like the doors are open. Come in. That's the message. As a Scot, which I couldn't fail to notice. Have you read Sturgeon's memoir?
Well, it's a bit of confusion. No, to answer your question, no, I haven't. But it only came out yesterday, and even then, apparently, it was by mistake. So the publication day, I think, was meant to be Friday. And then, lo and behold, Waterstones. I don't know if anyone else did, but Waterstones put it up for sale. Copies out yesterday. I think it was mainly bought by political journalists in Scotland.
All these books, so that's the only people who buy them, I think.
So they could read it. I mean, you can't switch on your TV right now or your radio without coming across Nicola Sturgeon. She was all over the TV this morning. Yeah. I've read excerpts of it. It was being serialised in the Times. In Scotland anyway. I don't think it gets much coverage down here. I think people have
I can't imagine anybody's going to be interested in anything that she says, right?
Funnily enough, I had a friend who's a journalist in Scotland to text me today saying, is anyone interested in this at Westminster? And I had to say, I'm afraid not.
Yeah, who?
You know, I mean, I am, but obviously I'm Scottish, so I do have an interest in it.
Yeah, but not enough to go. Will you go out and buy it and read it?
No, no. No, definitely not. I mean, the excerpts that I've read, I've been pretty dull, to be honest with you. There's been no great revelations in it, and it would appear to be just another exercise in her trying to launder her reputation. Yeah. Really, it's very much the sort of why I was right.
Yeah, there's Sturgeon's memoir. It says it's an act of vanity that leaves much unanswered.
Yeah. Well, and ironically, it's called Frankly, which would suggest that she's aiming to get an awful lot off her chest. But certainly from what I've read thus far.
No, I definitely am not going to be. I quite like a political book, but definitely, unless I need a new doorstop, I'm not. I'm not going after that one. The Financial Times. Unsafe waters, rising arrivals add to stresses. This is they're saying that the 13,000 more people than the same period of last year have come across on the boats. I mean, the FT is even covering that story. But this one, arms factories expand at triple speed as Europe switches on to a war footing. God, there's going to be some money made, isn't there?
There is, and it's unsurprising, I suppose, given all the rhetoric that we've heard, and given what Donald Trump has basically been ordering Europe to start spending more money on its defence. But it's still quite a striking front page headline, and it's a real sign of the times, isn't it, that we are living, as we know, in a very precarious world. There's conflict everywhere, not least Ukraine and Russia, and we don't really know what Putin is going to do next. But it's a safe bet to assume that it won't be very pleasant. So it's important, I guess, that Europe does arm itself. But you're right, it's a good time to be in the munitions business because there's going to be an awful lot of money made.
Yeah, I think it's always a good time to be in the munitions business, to be honest with you. And I think that's why we've got so many wars.
There's always plenty of war to go around.
Yeah, there's always enough war, and if there isn't, they just make one happen. Is my view. But there you go. The Metro. This story is utterly bizarre, but. I mean, it's awful, but it's vaguely comical. Bungling hit woman in niqab faces life. This is a woman who culturally and religiously doesn't wear a niqab, decided that was a good disguise for her, but she completely messed up on this assassination attempt.
Yeah, and she was flown in from America, so this was she clearly came with a bit of a reputation.
Craigslist or something. Hitman's are us. Yeah.
Gumtree.
Yeah.
If you if you shell out to get someone over from America, I have to stress I've got no experience in these matters, but I would imagine if you're going to those lengths, you expect them to be able to carry out the job at hand, and it would appear that she failed to. Well, she did fail to do so. That the gun jammed. And that the poor guy that she was trying to assassinate, obviously ran for his life. Very lucky, to escape with his life. But also, it was all caught on CCTV.
I was just going to say, she's rubbish. I mean, if I was
Absolutely.
a hit woman, which I might be, you don't know, I'd make sure that CCTV wasn't going to be blaringly off. You know, it was just ridiculous.
You would think that would
the
be a
whole
pretty
thing
basic.
is caught on it.
Yeah, absolutely, and extraordinary, really. And yeah, and she's going to spend a very long time in a British prison.
Yeah.
It would appear. So yeah, it was some sort of family feud, I think.
Yeah, it seemed to be a family feud from somebody from overseas who wanted her to shoot this. Anybody in that family, apparently. Didn't have to be anybody specific. I mean, it was even easier. Could have been anyone in the family.
She couldn't do it.
But she completely messed it up. And then the disguises, which were pathetic as well. And it was all caught on... maybe she was a bargain bucket, a Walmart assassin.
Maybe. Well, having been to a few American shops during our holidays, those places exist. Yeah, there's a shop called Target, which is a sort of bargain basement.
Well, she failed to hit hers, so that's maybe.
Well, very good. I hadn't even thought of that.
Yeah, when you said Target, I thought that's where you were going, but you know.
No, unfortunately not. It was a bit obvious, and I completely missed it. He obviously didn't get her from Target.
No, he obviously didn't get her from Target. Missed her Target, more likely. Extraordinary story. Really, really.
Story.
Absolutely. Just, I mean, if you made that up, no one would believe you. Another quick break, Kevin, and we'll be back in a sec.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, it is Talk. It's Petrie, and with me, Kevin Schofield, political editor at the Huffington Post UK. The Telegraph, Kevin, I think this is possibly what you were referring to earlier on. Families face fresh inheritance tax grab.
Yeah, exactly. You know, we were just discussing earlier, Rachel Reeves has got a devilish job ahead of her, to put it mildly, to try and plug this £50 billion black hole that she's managed to create in the nation's finances. Currently scrabbling around looking for taxes to raise, which will not break Labour's pre-election pledge not to increase income tax, VAT or national insurance on employees. So it looks as though inheritance tax, one way or another, is going to be chosen by the Chancellor as a way to raise money. Now, at the moment, if I understand these rules correctly, someone can gift money to a family member to avoid inheritance tax when they die, but they have to survive for at least 7 years.
Yeah.
And then in which case it's tax free. I think there's a taper. So if they die after between 3 and 7 years, it gets taxed at a certain amount, and then if it's, I think, under 3 years, then they get hit for the full, I think, 40% or something like that, inheritance tax. So they're going to get rid of this taper system, or certainly make it more punitive, so that it's much more difficult for people to avoid paying inheritance tax by giving these gifts, these financial gifts, to loved ones while they're still alive. Inheritance tax is one of those taxes that is remarkably unpopular, given that a lot of people don't pay it, but people just don't think it's fair. I think the concept of inheritance tax is unfair, that you're effectively paying tax after you die.
Yeah, I mean, there is some truth to that, isn't there? You've paid tax on that money beforehand. I mean, and a house, you've spent money on it through your mortgage, through maintenance, through all of those things, all of which is, you don't get tax free. It's all your earnings, and then when you die, you pay tax again. It doesn't feel fair.
No, and I think there is a human instinct as well to help your children. If you have children, you want to pass or leave them something after you've gone as well. So I think that annoys people now. I think maybe the political calculation for Labour is that a lot of the people, if not most of the people who pay inheritance tax, won't be Labour voters. They'll be Conservative. So there's no votes to be lost, really, in a policy such as this. And if it raises money for the Treasury, then all well and good, because
it's a weird one though, Kevin, because they've got to wait for this money, right? It's not like it's immediately like if they increased VAT, for example, where they would get the money straight away rolling in. They've got to literally be hoping people die quickly.
Yeah, but this is a product of the political hole that they've dug for themselves by restricting their options because of their pre-election pledge. Now, I think if they'd known that they were going to win the election by as much as they did,
they would never. Yeah,
they probably wouldn't have made that pledge. But they've seen successive Labour election campaigns in which the Tories have successfully managed to scare voters into thinking that Labour are going to jack up your income tax or put up VAT, although generally it's Conservative governments that put up VAT, but they will hit you in the pocket. So Labour feel they have to almost overcompensate. If you remember back in 1997, that's one of Tony Blair's famous pledges was not to increase the rates of income tax. That was to try and cut off that traditional Tory attack line. Now, they did it again last year, but now I bet Rachel Reeves wishes that they hadn't done it, because as difficult politically as it would have been to increase income tax, for instance, it's almost impossible for them to do it, having ruled it out in the election manifesto. Now, I interviewed Rachel Reeves earlier this year, and I asked her again, is there no chance that you will you'll break that election pledge? And she said, no, we will stick to that election pledge. So I'll be rooting that story out if they end up U-turning that as well. So, because it would be hugely embarrassing and politically massively damaging.
Absolutely. Well, she wouldn't survive it.
No, I don't. I mean, that would be the absolute last resort.
Yeah.
And you couldn't even blame the Tories. It would be all on them, really. They blamed the Tories last year, and you just about get away with it because they'd only just taken over. And they said the Tories had left this 22 billion black hole. But if you're having to do it to fill a black hole that you
have created,
effectively, then it's just political suicide.
The other one they're going to go after is capital gains, these so-called wealth taxes, because they think they'll be popular with the masses. So it's not the full fat wealth tax that a lot of Labour left-wingers would like to see, that Neil Kinnock talked about, a flat, I think it was 2%. 2% on 10 million.
More than £10 million in assets. I mean, how you how you even just work that out and how you get that money off them if it's not in cash, if it's in property, or if it's in artwork, or if it's in
you might be asset rich.
I don't know
how
do you get that money? So I think the Treasury would move heaven and earth not to have to do something like that, but they could probably turn around and say, well, look, we are making the wealthier, those with the broadest shoulders, as they always say, we're making them pay more tax. So that's
so
fair.
They're not people with the broadest shoulders, are they? Because that inheritance tax limit has not been changed in decades. So people are dragged into it now with properties of around 300,000, to 500,000, and so that's all the South. Done,
yeah, absolutely, right. And completely. Well, it says in the story here that the amount of money raised from inheritance tax has more than doubled.
Yeah.
Over the past decade to £7.5 billion.
Yeah, because they're dragging more and more people into that bracket. And the other story I just wanted to point at is that it's the public's job to tackle shoplifters, says the police.
Yeah, I mean, this is another one. Yeah, this is another one where, again, I think it just angers voters so much. I think everyone probably, certainly if you live in a city, at least you'll have seen absolutely astonishing scenes of people just going in and almost clearing shelves and walking out, and some poor, lowly paid security guard on the door is, expected to try and stop them. And you've no idea if they're armed or not, and there's no chance that you're going to do that, put your life on the line.
No, not for some ham or whatever it is.
Exactly, it's just crazy. And yeah, I mean, on the one hand, this is Matthew Barber, who's the Police and Crime Commissioner for Thames Valley. He said it was wrong to think that tackling thieves was just a job for the police. Well, yeah, I get what he's saying, but how many people are going to step up? I mean, all it will take is, God forbid, for one person to have a go, and they end up being killed.
To help some shop with its profit. No.
Absolutely. And then those words will be thrown right back in his face.
But also, you had a case earlier on this week, late last week, on the Tube, where some guys tackled another man who was exposing himself to children. And the police are looking for them now because there's no room for vigilante justice. So this is absolute... this is what happens if you tackle a shoplifter. They fall down and bang their head and you end up in prison for it. No, thank you.
No, exactly. No, I mean, this is the type of thing that I think people would expect that the police... Now, I appreciate the police are overstretched, undoubtedly. They just physically cannot catch every shoplifter out there. But to try and turn it around and say, well, the public have got a responsibility to step up as well... it's a bit of an odd message, I think, to be sending.
Well, I mean, again, we're told that vigilantism will not be accepted, and if tackling...
There's a real mixed message there.
Really, really mixed. Let me have a look and see, because the other papers are sort of covering most of the same stories. The national water crisis, a dry alert. This is on the Mirror.
Yeah, it is very worrying indeed. Now this is also a byproduct of the fact that we just haven't built enough reservoirs. There hasn't been a reservoir built in this country for a very long time indeed, and now we're paying the price for it, because it means that obviously there isn't enough water, unfortunately, in storage effectively to help us out in drought periods like this. And because of climate change, this is only going to happen more and more.
Yeah, this is again where water companies, Kevin, have let us down, because they haven't built anything, because that would have cost money and taken it off their shareholders.
Exactly.
Yeah. Good news is, though, that coffee eases the daily grind, but only in the morning.
Only if you have it in the morning, yeah.
But
I'm one of those lucky people who can drink coffee all through the day, and tea as well, and it doesn't keep me awake.
It's those Scottish genes, I'm telling you, because I'm the same. Kevin Schofield is absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much indeed. Kevin Schofield, political editor at the Huffington Post UK. Right, coming up, it's you and me, and that's it. We are going to be talking about the jobless benefit claimants, up by 1 million since Labour came to power. In fact, some of the papers are suggesting that those 1 million people are all signed off forever, that they don't ever have to work. I want to hear from you what it's like to be on universal credit. Are they easy to get? Is that what we're seeing here? Why are so many people turning to universal credit? And there's 2.2 million people who are in work claiming, but the rest of them are not. And half of those never have to work again. I want to hear from you as to how that's happening. Give me a call.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Good morning. It's Wednesday. I know, it's hump day. So it's Wednesday, and we are talking about the figures that were released today about the jobless benefits claimants. And basically this says Labour has put more than 1 million working age Britons onto jobless benefits that do not require them to look for work. So they're signed off now, potentially for life. That's it. The average age, by the way, of people going onto benefits is 40. I didn't know that till today. Gary has said on this, on the subject of universal credit, I would assume the increase in numbers recently are because the universal credit has replaced 6 legacy benefits like income support and child tax credit. These benefits are gradually being replaced as part of the UK's transition to universal credit. A lot of people currently in receipt of benefits are being moved over, seemingly to save the government money. Gary in Glasgow. Thank you, Gary. Yeah, that's what I was said right at the beginning of the programme, that some of these are that, but not to this number. The numbers really are quite eye-watering. There are 8 million people now on universal credit. 2.2 million of those are in work, which I also think is disgraceful. that the salaries of those people are not enough, that the taxpayer has to step in and top that up. The companies that they work for should be doing that, but instead they prefer to make profit, and the government just lets them do it, and then taxpayer picks up the tab. But yes, you are right, Gary. I thought that as well, that some of that will be moving across, so universal credit looks like it is growing up. But this is 1 million people since the same time last year, which was July last year, July 24. 1 million more people have gone into the don't have to look for a job bracket. How does that happen? What are the rules when it comes to being signed, kind of in a way signed off from looking for work? What do you have to be in order to get signed off in that way? I mean, I imagine that some of it is ill health, and that's fine. Some of it will be, there will be pensioners on universal credit now, so they can't work either. So I think that those are the numbers as well. You've got people with children under the age of 1, they don't have to look for work. Old age pensioners, of course, they don't have to look for work. They'll have their pension, and universal credit is probably topping that up. You know, if they've got hefty rent or whatever. So those two brackets don't have to look for work. But what else? What else are the reasons you don't have to look for work? And I'm presuming ill health. But I don't know. I mean, I hear mixed stories about universal credit. I hear stories about people who say it's really easy to get, and you just get it. And you walk in, you say, I need money, they give you money, and you go home. There are other people who say, yeah, well, I was freelance, but I lost my job. And even in the lean times, even in my lean times, I wasn't eligible to claim because I'd worked last week. I might do one day next week. I might do another day in 3 weeks' time. And that meant that I wasn't eligible for any kind of support. So I know that it doesn't work for everyone. But look, these numbers I mean, we hear this word bandied around, they're unsustainable. It's not possible. You know, the fewer people that are working, we have to pay more tax to support those who aren't working. And a lot of people will, at some stage, just make the decision, it's not worth it. What am I working for? I might as well join the long list of people getting unemployment benefits. What's the point? And then it gets worse and worse and worse. It's not sustainable. What is the answer? What is the answer? I mean, somebody has suggested that what they've got to do is be able to identify the truly needy from the work shy. Well, how do you do that? When people are getting lessons on how to claim benefits on TikTok, you know, what to say, how to say it, what to do, you know, how is it? How are you supposed to find out? But the other thing that I find absolutely criminal is that £1 out of every 10 that is handed out in universal credit is wrongly given. It's not fraud. It's not, this isn't the fraud budget, which is something else. This isn't, you know, people fake it, you know, this is them making admin errors to the tune of £6.5 billion a year. 10% of the entire budget of universal credit is mistakes. How is that a thing? How can that possibly be a thing? So look, I want to hear from you. How is it easy? This is right out of my wheelhouse. I have no experience of this because, like I said, I've always been freelance, so I've never been able to claim a brass farthing. But how does it work? Can somebody ring me and explain to me? And is it really as easy as it looks to get these benefits, to get universal credit? Give me a call. 0344 499 1000. Those calls are charged at the national rate, but we do call you straight back. And you can also send a WhatsApp to that number, but you can text as well on 87222. If you put the word talk up front, it comes through to us here in this studio. So let's get to your calls. And Camilla is a first-time caller. Camilla, a very good morning to you. Thank you for calling.
Good morning, Petrie. Thanks a lot for taking my call. First-time caller. I'm really glad I was able to get through.
I'm so pleased. I always love to hear new voices and old voices, but it's lovely to meet somebody new. What was it that made you want to particularly call about this topic?
I wanted to call because at first I wasn't sure if I should call, but it's about experiences with universal credit. So I thought I'd let you know about my experience that I had last year. So I have been living in London for 14 years. I'm from Switzerland. I've been working for 14 years as well and paid my taxes. So I got made redundant. I think it was last September. So I was jobless for the first time, and at first I wasn't even sure if I'm able to claim universal credit. I definitely needed it. I would have been quite lost without it to get through. Living in London is very expensive, and millennials don't have any savings.
Yeah,
true. But at first I wasn't sure. But my friends and my friends at work as well said I should definitely claim it because I pay taxes. So I did look into that, and I'm very grateful because I filled everything out that was needed. It wasn't much, like obviously just the identification and tax codes and my national insurance number, all that jazz. But it went pretty swiftly, Petrie. I got on the payroll of Universal Credit about after 1.5 months in. Looked for jobs in the meantime. They called me every week. I had to go in every second week to just give them an update where I was looking for jobs. And after about 4 months, I found a job, luckily, and that's it. Then I signed off Universal Credit. But yeah, I mean, again, each and every experience is different. I was very lucky, I guess.
You say lucky, but 1.5 months is quite a long time to be with. A lot of people couldn't manage 1.5 months.
Yeah, excuse me, because it took 1.5 months because the redundancy pay that I got would have definitely seen me through for like 1.5 months. But then after that, so it came on time for me.
And what kind of so you were required to look for work on the benefits that you got?
Yes.
So what kind of thing, when you went in to see them, what kind of thing did you have to show them to prove that you were looking for work?
Yeah, if I remember correctly, I had to obviously show my identification, my proof of address, national insurance, and where I previously worked. And I believe once I was signed off, like completely gone from my work, that would have reflected in my tax files or some tax code. You know what I mean? So I think that way they were able to, and it all made sense as well with the tax code when I started to work again and all that stuff. It fell into place. So I think, it was pretty a well-oiled machine there.
And what kind of things did you have to do to look for a job?
I work in advertising, so I didn't lean on the help that was offered at the job center. So I had just LinkedIn and just word. How do you say it, Petrie? Word through mouth. No, that's not the word.
Word of mouth. Yeah.
Word of mouth. Thank you. And a headhunter and that. So I think it was. Yeah, it took a while, but that's how I eventually found my job.
And with people who live on universal credit, could you have lived on it?
Again, it's not little money that I got. I was able to pay my rent, which is the
biggest thing.
The biggest thing. And again, living in London is not cheap. So I was able to cover my rent, but I still needed to obviously get the money for all the bills and food and that stuff. So if I would have carried on after 5 months, I don't think I would have been able to do that. I think I was really lucky that I got that pouch of universal credit, and then just not the savings, but what I got from my job, I guess that balanced it out. But without it, no. I don't think on its own I wouldn't be able to survive, unfortunately. Well, that sounds dramatic, you know what I mean?
No, but I absolutely know what you mean. And did you say you originally came from Switzerland?
That's correct, yeah.
So what is the benefit system like in Switzerland? Would it have been better or worse or pretty much the same, do you think?
To be honest, I think it's not a bad one. I don't have much experience, or I don't know people that, or actually a friend who did, but the process is a bit longer, I think, and they're very thorough in doing the checks. I think it's a bit more difficult to just gather all the information that they require. I think they ask for a little bit more than what is asked for here. Again, don't take my word, but that's what it sounded like.
But I mean, it's still quite a lot. If you've got to have a national insurance number, you've got to have your tax code from your last job and your address. I mean, it seems to be fairly thorough.
Yeah. But I just remember that it just takes a bit more. When I told them how it works over here, they were telling me, "Oh, yeah, that sounds pretty good over here. It takes ages." So that's kind of that conversation.
Yeah, I mean, and if it takes ages, what's the point of it? I mean, when you lose your job, it's fairly immediate, right? A lot of people will need that sort of help straight away.
Absolutely. Especially if also, again, if health is an issue and all that stuff, you know, I think definitely, like I said, I was okay until I got it. I just, immediately acted as soon as possible, so I got it right on time. But yeah, if you need it immediately, I guess that is a bit late.
And was the experience of going in and applying okay, or did you feel a certain way about it, or?
Obviously very new to me. I didn't. It was the first time, but it was okay. Look, I went in there, did what I had to do, just gave the information. I was a bit nervous that. I don't know, I was very ignorant, I think, Petrie, or just super naive, because I just thought at first I wouldn't be eligible to get it for some reason. I don't know, because I have a flat, I have a bank account, I have a little bit of money, but again, not savings or substantial, it's difficult. But I always thought I need to be really in the pits of the pits.
Yeah, really at the very low, very, very poor.
Yeah, and then I felt a bit guilty, as if I'm taking something away. But again, I think it was made clear that I do pay my taxes, and that's what I pay my taxes for.
It's exactly what you pay your taxes for. And this is what I hate. Do you know what I hate, Camilla? Is so many people are made to feel embarrassed when they and that's the welfare state. That's what it's there for. That is the whole point, is to lift you up when you fall, help you get back on your feet, and then see you off on your way. That's what it's there for. Why people feel embarrassed, I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I'm just really grateful because I had that experience where it was more positive. But again, it's just a bit heartbreaking to hear other people that are struggling with this process.
Yeah. It really is. Well, listen, congratulations on your job. I'm glad you've got a new job. Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, it's really great. It's been an intense summer, but, Christmas campaign's already coming up.
No.
Yeah, it's fun. It's good.
Yeah. What are the big Christmas campaigns this year that we can look forward to?
Some fashion retail Christmas campaigns.
Ooh. Yeah. What colour are we going to be wearing?
What colour are you going to be wearing? Well, red and green, I guess.
Yeah, same as. Camilla, it's lovely to meet you. Thank you so much for calling, and please do call again. It would be lovely to talk to you again.
You.
And thank you for your experience. There you go. So I mean, that felt like it was pretty smooth, right? Felt like it was fairly easy, but she did have to prove that. So it's not that, what I'm saying is it's not just given away, right? It is people who have a genuine need for it, is it? It seemed to be like that with Camilla. Anyway, look, I've got to take a quick break, but give me a call and tell me about your journey on this and how you survive. And can you imagine living on universal credit forever? Because I guess there's different levels, right? But anyway, give me a call. 03444 99 1000.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Good morning, this is Talk, and it's Petrie here. We're talking about universal credit because the numbers of people on universal credit now in this country are eye-watering. It's 8 million people on universal credit in July 2025. Those figures came out just yesterday. That's up from 6.9 million people on universal credit in July 2024. What has happened in the last year that has made another million people go onto universal credit? What's happened? Why isn't anybody asking that question? But look, I'm looking for your experiences of universal credit because the no work requirement at the moment on universal credit, 46% of people, and that continues to increase. So more and more people are being signed off work permanently. So what is going on with that as well? I want to hear your stories about, how easy or how difficult it is. I've got a really good text message here, which is, it's quite long, but it's worth reading. So I'm just going to read it to you. It's from Jen in southeast London. It says, universal credit is a nightmare to claim, and it's extremely difficult to go through that process, and you feel like scum as a result of the experience plus the media. I really think the fear of having to go through the same again, plus the low self-worth, is a massive contributor to how and why so many people are reluctant to mess with things. I believe that as well. A single call to the Department for Work and Pensions just to ask a question wipes me out for a week, and I'm not exaggerating. I won't sleep, my eating is messed up, I have anorexia, and I struggle to think straight. It's not just me. To others I know, even just a brown letter through the door can take days to build up the courage to open for any of us. And now they have your email address, there's even more of a sense of fear all the time. I'm scared to open my email app in case there's an email from them. The anxiety never really goes away. I don't know who these people are who find this stuff easy. It's not easy. And that's from Jen, as I said, in southeast London. I can sense that fear. I really can. Another new caller, Mandy in Cambridgeshire. Mandy, good morning.
Good morning. Is it that time already?
It is, I know.
My goodness me.
I know, it still feels like night time, doesn't it? We'll just pass through that. But Mandy, it's lovely to meet you. Thank you for calling. What was it about this topic?
Yes, so universal credit. I've had the awful experience of going through trying to actually claim. The fact that you have to, I actually thought that they were spying on my bank allowance, my bank account, where if you had a certain amount over, that you couldn't claim, to the fact that basically you moved out of a relationship or had some sort of an experience where you've got money in the bank. However, if you've got over a certain amount of money, you can't claim.
Yeah.
So effectively, you live your money that's in the bank until you can afford to get down to the allowance that allows you to claim universal credit. So effectively, it's really not a very good...
So they make you spend any money that you might have put aside for emergencies before you can claim.
Well, this was a case of putting it aside for the fact of buying another property.
Right.
Because of what happened in between and losing your job, you've got that money in the bank. They see it as assets, and you can't actually claim universal credit. And then on top of that, the universal credit that they do allow you doesn't always necessarily allow you to cover your rent. So it's if you've got anything,
they'll take it off you. And there's no nuance in that. I mean, it's just a red line. There's no like, oh, well, if you're, needing a deposit or there's no...
Well, nowadays they can actually look into your bank account. So I thought that was true a few years ago.
Yes,
Otherwise,
I thought they'd now said if you're going on benefits that they have the right to just dip into your bank account without going through a judge.
Exactly, and how is that okay?
That's not
okay.
I
mean, I felt the fact that I had to get rid of it so that I wasn't being dodgy, and now they're being even more dodgy. So how can you actually...
Yeah.
Really, you can't, can you?
Well, they just make sure, I suppose. And when you think about the number of people who are stealing from the benefit system or being, it doesn't seem...
You couldn't make it up, could you?
No.
And like you said earlier on, the amount of people that come over and get free things for nothing.
But, I mean, the whole claiming of benefits, because I've heard different stories. We had Camilla there who was saying, look, it wasn't too awful for her, but the way that the media and other people describe people on universal credit, which is not something I would ever do because I think it's disgusting, you're made to feel less, you're made to feel worthless before you claim.
And Camilla actually had a bad experience before she had a good one. So going back to that, it's just so yeah. What can I say?
But if they make you, this is what I don't understand. If they make you feel like you're worthless and you're scumbags for claiming something that you've paid into, then how do they expect that same person to find a job?
Well, I had 32 interviews before I got the job that I'm in now.
Wow.
So basically, it was an issue for me in my own personal perception and what was going on in my life, and that just goes across the board. So if you just take that everywhere, and that just not the fact of universal credit, but the fact that some people can or can't, just take it back to the board that everybody's entitled to what they've been paid into, and if they haven't paid into, then, and I didn't mean to say that. That's probably controversial, but sorry.
Well, no, I mean, no. I mean, I've got lots of numbers in front of me here, but the numbers of people claiming who have got refugee status or limited leave to remain are tiny, and 0.9%. 1.5%. The biggest cohort of people claiming are 76.5% are from the white ethnic group.
And without being controversial, I understand that because over the last few years and the few years that I'm 56 now, and I have children of almost 36 and 38. So I've done that.
Yeah.
However, it's about people. My son works. My daughter claims not universal credit, but family tax allowance because her husband works, and it's a little bit controversial to the fact that my understanding of the fact is that we all need to put into the pot.
I agree.
And realistically, if you don't put into the pot, then I'm sorry,
yeah, I mean, look, there'll be a lot of people who agree with you because there will be some families where, no generation alive has done a day's work. And they will all be, you get generational benefit claimants because they see their parents claiming benefits. They then, that's the life they know, right? You learn by example. So you do have generational in families, the generational claimants who've never put in a penny. And I do think that's unfair. Because what's the excuse for it? You know,
I do. In the same context, you also have other families from people that have come in from outside of the country that also haven't put into the pot, that are also taken out. So
yeah, like I was saying though, even those numbers are actually really tiny compared to others. Like I said, 1.5% of refugee group, 0.9% of people limited leave to remain, 0.4% were in another group.
But the percentages don't actually add up to the fact that it costs more in those percentages to do that, to provide those services, to provide that, to provide that, to provide this. So in context,
no, this is just universal credit we're talking about here, and those are the numbers that have been completely broken down by ethnicity, by status, by even between indefinite leave to remain to refugee status to other groups. So this has been broken down by that, and most the migrants that come across on boats are not entitled to these benefits at all until they get their visa approval or their right to remain or whatever. So the biggest group is the white ethnic group.
And that's one of obviously the problem, because you do have those 16 to 24, 26-year-olds that actually don't really give a about getting a job, because
exactly.
it's easy for them not to.
And that's what's really difficult, I think, Mandy, is that if young people see that they can get this stuff for free, and also they know they're never, the social contract has gone. These young people, I feel quite sorry for them. Why should they bother when they can never afford a house?
Did it really?
They'll never be able to buy a house though, like we did or could.
No. My son struggles to pay his rent.
Yeah, mine too.
With you, to the fact that he's actually paying a ridiculous amount of council tax.
Yeah.
How can you charge £2,400 a year for what?
I know.
For what? So yeah, I think the whole absolute system has gone mad.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm sorry, Petrie, and I know we've gone off a tangent here.
No, it's not off a tangent, because we have to understand why this is happening. Why? And I think that a lot of young people, they don't see any value in work because they know they probably can't afford to have a family. They probably can't afford to buy a property. What's the point? Why be part of society if society isn't going to give them that, at least?
So the government is building all these houses. My son's a roofer, but hasn't got any work.
What?
So, yeah. So he has to travel from London down to almost Grantham to actually get a job, because there is no... And they're building all these houses, apparently. So, goodness... Could you? I mean, what happened to building council houses years ago?
Well, that's what I always say, Mandy, is that when they talk about affordable houses, they're not affordable. The only affordable homes are social rent.
Exactly. And so, yeah, sorry.
No, I completely agree with you. I have a son who's 28, so I know the struggles for these young people, and he, like your son, is working. But it's kind of like, he's never going to be able to afford a property, And so it's almost like, well, why am I bothering to pay tax? Why am I bothering to be involved in all of this? He's paying into the national insurance for a pension that he won't ever get.
No. So he's paying into the NI, where he won't even be able to retire at 77.
Exactly.
So, my goodness me.
Why bother? And I genuinely believe that. I all young people, I don't blame them for not engaging in the system at all.
That's why they're on their PlayStations and not getting a job.
Yeah, and I completely understand it. I wish there was a way we could re-sign a social contract with them to say, look, we messed it up, you will be able to afford it. And then they might then want to work towards something. But right now... They don't. Mandy, wonderful to talk to you. Call again, won't you?
Thank you very much. You take care.
And you do call again. That's Mandy in Cambridgeshire. I'm going to take a very quick break, but I will be back to talk to another new caller, Jackie, in just a moment.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, good morning. It is Petrie here with you, and we're talking about universal credit because the statistics came out yesterday, and it appears that Labour has added 1 million working age Britons onto jobless benefits that do not require them to look for work. That is in a year. So half of the people, nearly half of the people, it's 3.7 billion people, out of that 8 billion don't have to look for work, ever. They're signed off. That is it. They are lost to the jobs market. They're gone. That's it. They're just gone to the jobs market. The breakdown of the others is that some don't have to look for work. Hang on, I got it here because I was really interested to know what it is. Here we go. 1.6 million are searching for work. 1.3 million are working, so there are no requirements to look for work because obviously they're already working. No requirements. 0.9 million, so 900,000 working with requirements, 0.4 million, 400,000 preparing for work, and 100,000 planning for work, whatever that means. So that's how those numbers are broken down. But 3.7 million no work requirements, which is extraordinary, isn't it? That's a lot. Let me just read this and we'll go straight to the calls and to Jackie. Ernie said, my brother was made redundant a few years ago. He's 63, single, no children, and has never claimed anything in his life. He worked in low-paid jobs most of his life, so no savings, and I watched him trying to get some help from the government. It was horrendous. He was told he couldn't claim for most things because he had a pension. That's £60 a month. He's now doing odd jobs to keep a roof over his head. It's really hard to claim benefits unless you know how to play the system. And most genuine law-abiding citizens who fall on hard times wouldn't have a clue how to. I completely agree with that. A person I know has been signed off for life and gets PIP payments on top of his really generous allowances. Claiming and living on benefits is a minefield. And I do believe that it is broken down into those camps as well, that those people who know how to use the system and those people who don't know how to use the system. And I'm with you on that, Ernie. I've seen that myself as well. Right, to the phones. Jackie, another new caller. This is wonderful. I'm meeting all these new people. Jackie's in Bradford. Good morning, Jackie.
Good morning, my darling. Are you okay?
I am all the better for meeting you. How are you doing?
Absolutely fantastic. I love the reel that you've just done through about all these 1.6 million and 1.3 million and what. Oh. Excuse me, I'm from Bradford, so that means I'm hard, or either something else. It's just a joke. The universal credit.
Yeah.
I've been self-employed for a long time, and I'm also can't claim anything now.
Yeah, being freelance or self-employed is a catastrophe if you ever want benefits.
Freelance fitness instructor. So they assume that you make so much money a month, and then they just stop your money. I've been self-employed for over 30 years. I've bought my own house. I've run my own business, and then when you fall on hard times, you are snookered.
I absolutely agree, because I know when I've been out of work or out of regular, employment as a presenter, you get nothing. Absolutely no help at all, because they're going, yeah, but you've got one day covering for somebody in 2 weeks' time, so that's work. You're completely scuppered.
Yes, scuppered, nice word, scuppered. But all these who were coming over, the thing what I got as well, I had no help about mental health support. You just go into that appointment and you are sat there and they basically say, how much work are you doing to get more work? How much work are you doing to get more work? And I just went, hang on a minute, I'm having a mental breakdown. And they never asked if I needed mental health.
And I think also that, Jackie, that is a problem as well in this country, is the number of people who are signed off with mental health issues, which, being honest, can be faked, right? And because you can't see them. I'm not suggesting that everybody is faking them, but I'm certain there are some that are. And there's no mental health help anyway. So you can't say to somebody who's signed off for mental health reasons, go and get a job, if you don't give them help with their mental health. Right?
Yes, that's correct. I agree with that completely, because I had a bit of a ding-dong, if you like, and I still have to pick myself up and go back to work with no help at all.
And what have they said to you is the bar for you getting help, that you wouldn't be able to do any work at all? How would you get universal credit?
Because the universal credits just basically kick you off the system. They kick you off the system.
And you can't go in and say, why have
you sitting down? I'm going to make you laugh now. We're bringing our conversations every time with are you sitting down? And I think I got £300 once, and then it went down to 30.
What?
And then when they say to you that you are earning so much money, even though you're not, they are assuming that you are earning that much money.
But don't they have to prove that in order to kick you off?
Yes. And I'm self-employed and I do all my own accounts.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that there's a real issue, and it was the same actually during COVID, wasn't it? Where those of us that were self-employed got absolutely no help at all. There were over 3 million of us.
I didn't
get a penny.
I got about 1,500 on the first year.
I didn't get anything.
And then after that, it was nothing.
It's really bizarre that there isn't, but by now, because there are millions of people who are self-employed or they are freelance or whatever, they could have learnt by now a system that would support people who have irregular work
why
patterns.
are all these people coming in on boats and getting telephones and cigarettes and hotels?
No, they're not getting universal credit though.
When
they're not allowed to apply for
all that.
Yeah, but I mean, I suppose that's a different budget. That's coming mostly off the.
Yeah, that's different. Right, I get that. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. I appreciate that. Thank you. That's a different story.
Yeah, it's just a different budget.
Yeah.
But why do you think it is that in the last year, another 1 million people in 1 year have been signed off forever? What's causing that?
I've got no idea why. Because I've worked all my life, and I will still continue to work all my life. And why are they getting it and then everybody's getting signed off?
I don't know. It's bizarre, isn't it? How are they signing off so many people? Forever.
Because they do. Do you know what it is? Are you sitting down? It's called the magic of the pen.
Yeah. And if you know how to work the system.
It's the magic of the pen. Whereas I don't, you see. That's why I lost out on my universal credits.
Yeah.
I can't claim anything now. I cannot claim anything now.
It's shocking. It really is that people who are, by now they should have come up with a way of being able to support freelancers and self-employed people who are going out there and doing these irregular jobs and sporadic jobs, and they should have figured it out by now, but they just don't want to, I guess.
Do you know what my other job was? I'm actually a financial advisor and mortgage advisor.
Oh, wow.
Qualified up to the hilt, yeah. Honestly.
And they still wouldn't take your word for it that you're not earning as much as they think.
No, because I didn't do that work. I was still self-employed, doing fitness. I was working for certain companies which I can't obviously mention over the radio. But yeah, I've been working all my life self-employed.
Yeah, this is like, I just read out that email from Ernie, and his brother at 63 was working all his life and couldn't get any help either from the government. But it is, I don't know, it just seems like very much a two-tier system where some people do really well out of it, and people like you and me and Ernie's brother don't get anything from the system at all. I just don't know how that is supposed to...
I didn't get no.
Well, listen,
How did they do it? How did they do it?
I don't know. It is people who know how to work the system, I'm sure. They know the right things to say, they know the right words to use, they know the right everything, and we just haven't got the knack of that at all. And most people, as Ernie was saying, don't have that, I think. We just don't know. We don't know how the system works, or we fall just outside of their very strict lines. Jackie, brilliant to talk to you. Thank you for calling. Do call again. I've got to take a quick break, but I will be back in just a moment.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, good morning. This is Talk, and it's Petrie with you until the top of the hour. And we're talking about universal credit statistics. 8 million people now on universal credit, up from 6.9 million just a year ago. Lots of messages. Let me read a couple out. To not look for work, you need to be providing at least 35 hours of care for someone, and you need to have a physical disability condition that prevents you from working. The problem is that too many people are using mental health loopholes as an excuse for work shyness. Great show, thank you. And that's from Mac in Glasgow. It's so difficult to quantify though, isn't it? Grant says universal credit is sometimes harder for people who are newly ill, partly because they would prefer not to be ill and don't know the system, but also the illness may cause the system to seem more confusing than it would be if you were fully fit and healthy. So maybe it's easy enough, it's an easy enough system to be gamed for those who are chancers, but can be very difficult for those who actually need it. And I completely agree with that as well, Grant. They make it as difficult as possible for people who genuinely need it. And it is disgustingly unfair. Grant in Weymouth says, once you're awarded universal credit, you get tasks to complete. It could be a number of job applications or qualifications or whatever. If you don't meet the tasks or don't keep appointments, you are immediately sanctioned, which can be any amount, even the whole payment for that month. It's a constant battle to meet the ever-moving goalposts. You always need to speak the correct bureaucratic language to get any help. It's not a simple or easy way, in my experience. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's people who know the system and people who don't know the system, isn't it? And this one, I'm really confused at these numbers. As someone who is disabled and chronically unwell, you have to give proof to the DWP, like medical evidence from doctors all the time. Just from personal experiences, it's hard to get any benefits, more so for when you can't work, as they need the evidence. So not sure how people are getting on universal credit so easily. I now have PTSD with the horrific things that have happened. Just a brown envelope, or even now a white one, really gives horrendous panic attack. This is awful that people should experience this on benefits. It's disgusting. But the whole experience is awful. My heart goes out to all that have experienced any horrific experiences of DWP. Thank you for actually listening to both sides and not just seeing everyone on benefits as scum. Sending love, Harmony. Of course not, because I don't believe that. I think we're fed that story in the media. It's easy to dislike people who need help. I just think it's disgusting how people are treated like that. And to be terrified of an email or a letter to give people PTSD, that's not a good country, is it? That's not. I thought we were judged on how we treated the vulnerable. If so, pretty poor. Tristan, good morning.
Morning, Petrie. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
Not too bad. As I was saying to your research, I'm trying to get hit. Obviously, it's under universal credit. And you do have to give out a lot of information, but as the assessor said to me, because I manage my Crohn's really, really well, I probably won't get anything. But the reason why I decided to go down this route is because of a nurse at the Bedford Hospital told me that she thought I should give it a go because I've had some quite bad flare-ups due to certain life situations that have happened over the past 6 months.
Yeah, and why are you being punished for managing your condition well as well? I mean, that it just all seems about face, doesn't it? Some people find it really, really easy to say, oh, I've got, mental health issues, or I've got a bad back. And they get given money, and other people like you, and Crohn's is particularly nasty, and you have flare-ups, and there are moments when you're okay, and other moments, it's a bit like my MS, right? You have good days and bad days. And that shouldn't be held against you either. It's like...
No, but I mean, as I said, as they said to me, if I was having chronic problems with my Crohn's, then I probably would get the full whack of money. But because of I work full time, and because of with even in some cases means tested, but because of I manage my Crohn's really well, as I'm not even on any actual medication, I'm going to get penalised for it.
But also, you know, the diseases like yours, like I said, you'll have good times and then really awful times, and they don't account for that. They don't account for the fact that this is a almost cyclical thing, that it depends on a lot of factors whether you have a good day or a bad day. They don't account for that.
No, but I mean, the thing is, Crohn's obviously have been an autoimmune issue. When you have certain stressful situations, it does cause flare-ups. Like the major situation that I had was one of my friends, she passed away. She had no estate or anything like that. So me and friends had to raise the money so she didn't have a pauper's funeral. And on top of that, she had a son, so we're now going through the whole legal guardian process.
God.
So I'm going through all of
Tristan.
that.
And like you said, stress for autoimmune is the worst thing.
And my Crohn's has basically said, that's a bit too much, Tristan. That's a bit too much, you know. So yeah, it's sort of hit you for six, really. So I'm going through all the assessment and all that kind of stuff to become his legal guardian.
Oh, well, I mean, what an amazing thing to do for a start, Tristan. That's an incredible thing to take on. But I mean, and also to be managing your disease. And like I said, it just doesn't seem fair that some people seem to swan through the system, and then other people, probably decent, you know, people who are really suffering, get absolutely flap all. Tristan, let me know how it goes with the boy.
I will. Thank you.
That's really, really kind of you. That's exceptional. Right, that's nearly me, but it makes me smile when I see Paul Ross come into the studio and try to get underneath the camera.
I know. I should have studied limbo dancing at school, not basketball.
Yeah, you're not going to win.
I'm going to do it kind of like an old commando. I think if you feel me elbows.
No, don't go commando.
Why can't I just sit there?
I don't know, because
they don't want to see me in vision, do they? They don't want to see my big old fat face.
Do.
Great show as always, though, Petrie. We've got two big guests on the show this morning. One is a man called Peter Hosken, who wrote the definitive 2-volume biography of Elvis Presley. It's Elvis Week, because of course Saturday's the anniversary of his death. His mother died in 1956, I think it was, when she was 42, the same age when Elvis when he died this week as well. And we've got a man called Peter Hosken on. He's written a great new book about Elvis and the Colonel, which rewrites this notion of Elvis being exploited by the Colonel, uses lots of letters by the Colonel, who was originally Dutch, of course, wasn't the Colonel, so it was an honorary title. And we've got a stuffer on the programme, a man called Simon Wilson, who is a professional taxidermist who supplies all those stuffed animals for movies like Harry Potter, fantasy films. Yeah, he's been doing it for 30 or 40 years.
Is he bringing anything in?
He's not. We're talking him down the line, and he's working at the moment on an octopus. Now that's a challenge. I don't know how you do that. He's also done cryptozoological creatures like Sasquatches, Bigfoot, and Yetis. But mainly he's done polar bears, giraffes, sharks. He's done all sorts. So we've got to get stuffed on the show this morning with Simon Wilson.
Do you want to
You're